Recording in progress. pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, thank you. And I'd like to call the Milton Planning Commission of 4/26/2023 to order. This is a regular meeting of the Milton Planning Commission. I'm Kurt Nolte. This is a 7-member commission appointed by the City of Milton Mayor and City Council, created for the purpose of holding public hearings and making recommendations on rezoning, use permits, concurrent variance, applications, comprehensive land use plan, and plan map, and other related plans and amendments to the zoning ordinance. In attendance tonight, we have Commissioner Trey James, Commissioner Ron Gilbert, Commissioner Smeet Shaw, Commissioner Judy Birds, Commissioner Fred Edwards, and absent this evening is Commissioner Laura Weissel. The petitions will be heard in the sequence listed on the posted agenda. I would like to acquaint you with some of the rules and procedures of conducting this meeting. The applicant and all those speaking in support of an applicant will be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present the petition. The applicant may choose to save some of the time for rebuttal following the presentation by the opposition. The opposition will then be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present its position. If time remains, the opposition may be allowed to rebut. Since the burden of proof is on the applicant will be allowed to make closing remarks provided time remains with the allotted time. The staff of the Community Development Department will be keeping track of the time and will inform you periodically of the remaining time for your presentation. Each speaker must fill out a speaker card before speaking and leave it with a staff member of the Community Development Department. All speakers will identify themselves by name, address, and organization, if applicable, before beginning their presentation. When an opponent of a rezoning action has made within 2 years immediately preceding the filing of that zoning reaction being opposed, the campaign contributions aggregate of $250 or more to a local government official of the local government which will consider the application, it shall be the duty of the opponent to file a disclosure with the governing authority of the respective local government at least 5 days prior to the Planning Commission meeting. A violation of the relevant state statute constitutes a misdemeanor. Therefore, if you have contributed $250 or more to a council member and you have not filed a disclosure prior to the Planning Commission meeting, the city attorney strongly suggests you have someone else speak for your point of view. Each application has been properly filed with the Department of Community Development. Signs have been posted on each site. The matter has been advertised and the notices have been mailed to property owners affected by this zoning as required by the Milton zoning ordinance. The Planning Commission's recommendation will be forwarded to City Council, Mayor for the final disposition in approximately 5 weeks on the first Monday of each month at 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers. The Community Development Department has reviewed each application in conjunction with various agencies and departments, both internal and external, to the city. Staff's recommendations, findings, and conclusions are here before us in written form, which has been made available to all petitioners and to the public. Demonstration of any sort within the chambers is prohibited, so please refrain from any applause, dialogue with the person speaking, or outburst. Please turn off all cell phones and place them on silent. All remarks will be addressed by the Planning Commission. Please show the same respect for the person speaking that you would expect to receive yourself. In addition, the applicant shall not submit material to the Planning Commission during the meeting unless requested to do so by the Commission. All material that you wish to be reviewed by the Commission in consideration for your application should be submitted to the staff of the Community Development Department to be included in the normal distribution packages to the Commission. Finally, to the applicant, if your petition is deferred in accordance with the Milton zoning ordinance, you are required to obtain a new sign for reposting. Failure to update or repost will result in further delay. There are no exceptions. Call for general comment. There will be limited to 2 minutes per person and not to exceed 14 minutes. Okay? I think the first item on our agenda is the consideration of the action minutes for March 23rd, 2023.
Move to approve the minutes as submitted.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous. Okay, the next item is the consideration of the use permit, U22-04, 3100 Heritage Walk, Suite 301.
Good evening, Planning Commission.
Good evening.
Michael Cardiman, Planner 2. The address is 3100 Heritage Walk, Suite 301. This... Carbon for the horse, excuse me. The address is 3100 Heritage Walk, Suite 301. This use permit, U22-04, came before you on January 25th. After the January meeting, it was discovered that the address of 3000 Heritage Walk was incorrect, and after consulting with the city attorney, this item was required to be processed again from the beginning. The applicant is Something Wedding and Events, LLC, by Elisa Chandler, and the size of the property is 3.88 acres. The existing use is a 3-story mixed-use building that's currently under construction. The request is for a use permit to operate an assembly hall / indoor auditorium, section 641846, not to exceed 150 attendees within 4,000 square feet on the 3rd floor of a 3-story mixed-use building currently under construction. Here's the location map showing an arrow of the property. To the west, just out of the frame, you have the Brayburn office buildings. To the north, Crabapple Crossing Elementary. To the east is the location of future development. And farther east is the lakeside of Crabapple subdivision. And finally, to the south is the location of gardens. Here's a zoning map detailing the current zoning. While the entire building at 3100 Heritage Walk is located in T5 zoning, the 3.85 acre site for the market district at Crabapple is split between T5 and T4 open zoning. The Planning Commission recommendation from the January meeting was unanimous for approval. There was one person in attendance at the meeting in support of or opposition. Excuse me, there was no one in attendance at the meeting in support or opposition. There was a discussion regarding the amount of parking available for the proposed venue and the applicant's plan with Fulton County Schools, offering of ride-share vouchers and valet service to an off-site location. The Planning Commission recommended an additional condition to further ensure adequate parking availability within the development. In addition, the Planning Commission recommended to remove the applicant's proposed more restrictive days and hours of operation and to replace them with the use permit days and hours of operation. Staff has provided these recommendations, which are highlighted at the end of the presentation with the recommended conditions. Originally, the Fulton County School Board granted the applicant approval to use adjacent neighboring schools for parking. However, since the January 25th meeting, the Fulton County School Board informed the applicant that they no longer have permission to park in FCSB facilities because of the service of alcohol at the events. April 5th of this year, the applicant was present at the Community Zoning Information Meeting, CZIM, held at City Hall at 7 p.m. There was no one in attendance regarding this item. Design Review Board meeting courtesy review, which was April 11th. 5 of the DRB members present at the meeting expressed support for the use permit and recommended approval of the use permit, while also acknowledging they stand behind their approval recommendation from the January 3rd meeting. The applicant is currently working on a valet service and ride shares to address the removal of the FCSB parking. The DRB also wanted to acknowledge that the Reliant building and parking deck is proposed to be at the northwest corner of the Heritage Walk and Mayfield Road, will be in close proximity to the current location. The DRB believes there is ample parking opportunities around this area, and the Reliant building parking deck could potentially alleviate future parking concerns if the applicant was looking for other avenues of parking in the future. The applicant held the public participation meeting on April 18th at City Hall Community Place from 7 to 8 p.m. One citizen expressed concerns regarding the noise because she thought the venue would be above the Billy Allen's restaurant and asked that the venue would have roll-up doors, open windows, and outdoor speakers. The applicant explained to the citizen that the venue will not have roll-up doors, not have open windows, and outdoor amplified music is prohibited in the city ordinance. The citizen was satisfied with this response. The existing building meets all development standards as required in the T5 Transect zone. Here's a list of site plan considerations for section 641846, and the applicant meets all these requirements. The proposed Assembly Hall Indoor Auditorium use permit is consistent with the City of Milton 2040 Comprehensive Plan and Map and consistent with the use permit considerations. Therefore, staff recommends approval of conditional approval U22-04. Recommended conditions. To the owner's agreement to restrict the use of the subject property as follows. Restrict the use of 3100 Heritage Walk, Suite 301 to an Assembly Hall Indoor Auditorium. Restrict the total square footage of the Assembly Hall Indoor Auditorium at 3100 Heritage Walk, Suite 301 to 4,000 square feet. Restrict the maximum number of attendees of the Assembly Hall Indoor Auditorium to 150. Days and hours of operation shall be limited to the following. Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday, 10 a.m. to 11 p.m., Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. And at the January PC meeting, you recommended to remove the more restrictive hours and just go with the use permit hours, as shown here. The owner's agreement to abide by the following. Substantial compliance with the site plan received by the Community Development Department on November 29th, 2022, whereby the exact layout of the project may contain minor deviation approved by the Community Development Director, provided the deviations remain consistent with the purpose and intent of Council's approval of the use permit. Notwithstanding the contents of the site plan, the project must meet or exceed the requirements of the zoning ordinance and all other applicable city ordinances and these conditions prior to the approval of the land disturbance permit. The site plan may be revised with the approval of the Community Development Director in order to comply with the city codes and zoning conditions. Unless otherwise noted hereon, compliance with law conditions shall be in place prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy. The owner, this was in a condition added by Planning Commission at the January meeting. The applicant shall provide either off-site parking or a transportation option to facilitate ride such that the total number of additional parking spaces and transportation options actually utilized shall be at least 0.5 parking spaces per attendees over 30 attendees total. Any questions or comments for staff?
Anybody have any questions or comments? I think we're good.
Well, one question. Last time there was a considerable amount of discussion regarding the parking. Something was handed out a minute or two ago.
Yeah.
Would someone be prepared to?
Yeah, so the applicant had just given it to me, so I wanted to give it to you, a
Okay.
copy of their contract with
All right.
off-site valet parking, so that's what that is.
Nothing changes as far as the foundation that they were going to provide. This,
Well, in lieu of, I think at the last meeting, they had the Fulton County permission, and now they don't have that. And I think their intention was to have a valet service, but at that time, they didn't have a specific location. So now this provides for the specific location for the valet parking.
okay, so there's enough space.
Right, so that development on Crabapple Road is a mixed-use development with office and retail. So I suspect that the owner believes that there would be sufficient room to provide for valet service to that spot.
What's up? Yeah, do we have any public comment at all?
I do not have any public comment cards, no.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve use permit 2204 with the recommended conditions 1A, 1B, 1C, 2A, and the additional condition 2B.
I would second.
That's 2B.
Yeah. Okay, seconded by Trey James.
Second.
Okay.
The third.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. We should have all this easy.
Okay.
We don't want them this easy this way.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. The next is the text amendment.
So I'm gonna- yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, before we begin discussion here, I just have a short statement. Before we discuss or take action on this topic, I want to announce, as I had previously, that I serve as an officer of a charity that conducts business out of a county-owned building that is located in the proposed overlay. I have consulted with the city attorney on the issue of whether I need to recuse, and I have been advised that I do not need to recuse. However, in an abundance of caution and in the interest of transparency, I provide notice of my service on this charity. I will not be recusing.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Caleb Rossico. I am a planner with TSW, and my firm is the firm that has worked with the Community Development Department to develop first the District at Mayfield Master Plan and now the form-based code updates that we're here to talk about this evening. So as a little bit of background, the District at Mayfield Master Plan was a community-based visioning process to look at issues of growth and development in the sort of southeast quadrant of the Crabapple main intersection. We conducted a process and came up with a master plan. And as part of that master plan, the city knew that there would be things that would not be in conformance with the form-based code, or there could be things that were not in conformance with the form-based code. So our contract included not only the visioning, but also updates to the code that would support the vision. And so with that said, the document before you this evening is a series of text amendments and map amendments that would accomplish really 4 goals of that effort. One was to ensure that the vision of the district at Mayfield was supported and actually required among new development. The other issue was to make sure that we did reflect the very diverse ownership in the area. The district has many property owners. This is not a master plan development where one owner controls everything. And so we've been very careful to make sure that any of these regulations recognize the fact that properties may be developed incrementally and not necessarily 100% as shown in the drawing, which I'll talk more about in a moment. And then finally, there were 2 main outcomes of the process. The first thing was to make sure that this was density neutral. And so we are really here to focus on changes to the design of development, the character of development, the physical aspects of development, rather than the amount of development per se. And so this is the District at Mayfield vision, which again is a very high-level picture for encouraging growth and development in that area, but really preserving some of the unique attributes of the area. There are several older or historic homes, although they're not officially protected. There is quite a bit of tree canopy in that area, and there's largely a collection of smaller buildings. And so the vision for the area was really to build on that with the addition of more open spaces, some of which are smaller than otherwise envisioned in the Crabapple form-based code, much more intimate spaces, with the addition of new commercial types that had a sort of more residential character than much of the rest of Crabapple, and then with the addition of new housing that would sort of fill in vacant or redevelopment sites along that. And so from that, the code amendment, as I mentioned, really takes 2 parts. There is the regulating plan, which you may know is the zoning map that applies in the Crabapple form-based code, and then there is the text. In terms of the regulating plan, we use this as an opportunity to codify the requirements of the district at Mayfield. And so we did that by showing the district on the map in much the same way that the Deerfield form-based code shows the 5-acre road sub-area. So this would be a new sub-area shown on the map that would correspond with the additional requirements in the code. Within this area, we had to make a couple of modifications. The first thing was we had to remove all of the plans that were for new streets and trails that were envisioned almost over 10 years ago now in 2014. And really update it with the idea of a corridor that could almost serve as a bypass between Birmingham Highway, Mayfield Road, to encourage ways to get around traffic, and then eventually all the way up to Heritage Walk. Additionally, there is a street that the city is currently, I believe, in the process of planning that would run at the bottom end of the study area through the T2 property. And so that was also added. But we took out all of the previously indicated roadways that were in this area and all of the previous indicated trails. Wanted to make sure we reflected the current thinking of the city. Additionally, we use this as an opportunity to update the entire form-based code regulating plan, but not in terms of regulation, more in terms of reflecting things that had already happened. So for example, if there was a new subdivision that was built since 1914, we put the streets in because it's there now. It doesn't make sense to have a proposed street when it was there. Additionally, this building was not there in 2014, and so we added City Hall as a civic space. And then finally, we worked with the engineering department at the city, the public works department of the city, to make sure that the trail plans were current. Now, additionally, I mentioned, in addition to the regulating plan, there are a series of amendments to the actual code that are necessary to support the vision. The first one relates to the fact that this plan conceives of potentially closing a portion of Mid-Broadwell Road, basically the portion right at the Broadwell Road, Mayfield Road intersection. It envisions closing that and creating a pedestrian space out of that. And so because of that, if that is ever something that the city chooses to do with proper engineering studies and all of the appropriate engineering considerations, we would need to make sure that that kind of space has unique requirements. And so we put in standards that none of the streetscape and sidewalk requirements of the code would apply to that little section, because we know that little section would be designed as part of the city closing the roadway and redesigning it. And we wanted to give the flexibility for that, really as a unique type of space. Another one of the changes, which I already alluded to, relates to civic space or open space. The master plan envisioned a lot of very tiny open spaces scattered throughout the redevelopment sites. And so we wanted to allow them to be built, but we had to reduce some of the dimensions below the minimum sizes to allow them. And so what that means is, for example, plazas were not permitted in the T4 open zoning. So we had to allow plazas in the T4 open zoning. We had to allow them to be, I believe, 30 feet in dimension versus 60 feet in dimension to align with the scale and to make sure that they conform with fire access requirements. So again, not a lot of changes to the actual amount of open space requirement, but what is changed is allowing them to be a little bit more intimate, a little bit more smaller scale in this particular area. Additionally, there was a lot of discussion in the master plan about how do we handle parking. And there were a couple of concepts in the district at Mayfield that warranted zoning changes. The first one was that the plan called for almost a centralized parking facility, basically immediately to the west of the library. And so if that were to happen, if the private development community felt that that was an appropriate use, we wanted to make sure that the zoning didn't make off-site parking or shared parking more difficult than it needed to be. And so we put in place specific allowances for off-site parking and shared parking in this particular district. And we also had to add some definitions to the definitions chapter of the form-based code to define what those meant. But again, none of the parking changes are mandatory. They are just a way for developers, if they choose to do consolidated parking and, lease it to a property owner next door, they have the ability to do that in a much easier way than previously. And finally, there were some considerations related to the architecture of buildings. Now, everything that already applies in Crabapple related to the various styles, the various architectural aspects, the building heights would all be carried through for this. But at our CZIM meeting, members of the public commented that when you look at the form-based code today, it seems like all of the architectural styles are for houses, and that it would be useful if we specified that these styles, when applied to more of a Main Street type building, could be simplified interpretations, such as the Adam Orkin building in front of us. And so we put some language in there that just gives the staff the ability to understand how do you apply a house architectural style to a commercial building. Additionally, and this is probably the biggest change, the setbacks of most of the district at Mayfield today did not align with the vision, because as you know, most of the district at Mayfield today is called T4 open, which means it has a much wider setback, a much deeper setback than some of this, the more village atmosphere that was envisioned. And so because of that, we had to make a couple of modifications to the code to reduce the setbacks on the front, to allow setbacks to be not parallel to the street. Many of the older houses there are not parallel to the street. So it was very, very small things that had to be changed in both the zoning text and then several tables at the end of the code. And then, as I mentioned, there was a lot of discussion about building height. And so the current proposal that's before you would be to keep the 3-story height limit that applies in all of T4, really all of Crabapple, but make a couple of modifications for this area, really in the spirit of clarifying. The first thing that we would do is specify that attics and above ground basements count towards the maximum height of the building. There were ways where if we didn't put that in, you could have a building that appears 4 stories because the property falls away. This is really very clear that the cap would be 3 stories in any situation. And then finally, there is one change that is not in the presentation per se, but I did want to talk about, and it relates to the idea that there may be opportunities to develop new buildings behind some of the existing homes. And so that is actually a variance to the current code. And so we have also proposed language that we're still finalizing with staff to ensure that if you have an existing building and you did want to build a second building at the rear, you could do that. That would not currently be permitted today, but the idea is, and the vision is to allow one additional building on the rear in the future. So that concludes my presentation.
Great. Well, I would like to say, having been part of this, I believe community development and Caleb, you guys did a great job of putting it together, shepherding us through the various options. Sometimes you got more input than you wanted. Sometimes you didn't get as much as you wanted, but I thought you did a wonderful job. One of the things I always say I really enjoy and love about Milton is the ability to have the residents have an input into their city. And this is a classic example where, you guys listened well, you asked good questions, cool use of technology on one of the polling softwares that we used. But I was very impressed with the way that the process in general and the feedback and taking the feedback, bringing it all together and producing something that I think, a lot of people we can agree on and that we like.
Thank you.
One point that we must make sure that in the definitions, there are many words in this that we'll have to put in glossary. For instance, transact zones, edge yards, side yards.
I think that's already.
They're already in there.
They are,
already in there.
all those
Yeah.
are in there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just what we added had not been in the definitions because they were new terminology when we created. I wanted to
Right.
make sure that everybody knew what the Mayfield district was.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to echo Kurt's comments as I watched the process mostly online. What I'll call storm form, norm perform, and at a high level, I think came out with a very nice concept plan for the area. And hopefully the property owners are all in agreement and buy-in. So the one follow-up question I wanted to ask on your last point about being able to put buildings behind existing buildings, can you pull up the concept plans and describe where those might go?
Yeah, I will pull it up. It shut off. Here we go.
Yeah.
So I don't know the name of the houses, but look on Mayfield Road and right about here, can you see my cursor?
Mhm.
There is one building that was envisioned as an office building. And so that building actually does not have a street frontage today. And that would not be allowed today. But the idea here was to preserve the historic structure at the front and allow them to build an office building behind it. So that really is the only example of that. There may be this one here, which depending on how the parcels are drawn, that could be behind it. But we felt that having a little bit of flexibility to really encourage property owners to save the few historic resources left would be a useful tool to have without opening up a can of worms for more campus development everywhere.
So there again, to be clear, Broadwell Road is either the start or the ending of that. So anything on Mayfield, say going in the opposite direction of Crabapple, would not be included in any of this.
So the map before you shows where the parcels are. So it's the 3 properties, 2 of which are zone T5, 1 of which is T4 open on the north side of Mayfield Road. And then it's everything on the south side from Broadwell to Charlotte and then south to the end of the form-based code area.
So the
Okay.
library sits right there
Library's
at
right
the
here.
upper left. It's a little disorienting.
We
because
tilted
it's- Yeah. So that's the library at that corner.
Caleb,
So the area, let's say where restaurant, Milton's.
That's included in it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Okay.
right in
then
here.
yeah, it's the T.
In that area also is, it's a garage that repairs.
Oh, well, that's
lawnmowers.
outside, I believe that parcel, so if you look at the deep.
It's next
purple-
to
Yeah,
Milton Restaurant.
right, yeah,
That would be included,
yes,
that property.
yes.
Okay. Okay, it's included.
So while you're on this map, I know there's the Milton Garden. Is there a long heritage walk to the north of Milton's? Does that new proposed street go through the garden, behind the garden?
Right, the proposal for is to possibly in the future to create that connection between Mayfield Road and Heritage Walk.
But where is the
And it is
proposed-
through this, that piece of property that is not owned by the restaurant, but it's owned by a private entity that fronts on Birmingham Highway. It's a rectangular piece, but yes, it does bisect that. So I think that the idea is if you did create a road, that means more frontage for that property, which a corner property is more valuable than just a frontage on a road. So I think it could create a really great situation for people walking from, Mayfield to go over to Heritage Walk, et cetera. And I think it would be a great way to encourage development in that area.
And we did draw it to align with there's 2 curb cut driveways that were put in.
They're already
when
there,
Heritage
yeah.
Walk was built. So this aligns with the easternmost one.
And Paul, I guess the clarification in Paul is Paul. There's government property that's included in this, Fulton County property. Am I clear in understanding that our zoning requirements cannot dictate what can and cannot happen on Fulton County property if
That's
it's used for
correct.
governmental purposes?
That's correct.
Okay.
Caleb, I really like what has been done here, the work product. But I have a question as to why it's been restricted to such a small space. For instance, there's a triangular shaped property between Charlotte and Mid Broadwell, rather. Why wasn't that included in this?
I would have to defer to staff. This was the study area that we were given initially, the boundaries.
It just seems to me that going further down
Pull up the map.
Mid Broadwell,
Is it here?
yeah, yes.
It was actually included, but then was excluded in the next round.
Right, so the original moratorium had 23 parcels, and the property owner pretty early on requested it to be excluded from it. Because they had a plan to do some residential per the form-based code, just a normal development, so.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Makes sense.
If I can jump in really fast, I just want to add a couple of comments to Commissioner Bird's questioning. So when we developed Heritage, we actually put in the 2 curb cuts. We spoke to that landowner and told him the intent was to put that road connection in the future. That's why I put in 2 curb cuts, so that we could treat it that way. So the present owner is aware that road would be connecting it. It's like a mid-block. So in form-based code, we try not to have big blocks. It's a very large block, and that road would actually make that block into 2 blocks. It's almost like a mid-block crossing, they call it in the code. And I think it would really help out, make the connection from what the Beechams are doing right now on their development to this new development. And the other question I just want to follow up on is the county-owned building. So I just want everybody to be aware that when the county came in to build that library, they approached us and said, look, we don't really have to follow any of your rules, but we don't want to be that county. And they sat down with me, and we actually worked together to save the big tree and to design the library in such a special Milton way, which is really 2 barns and a silo.
Right.
I try to keep it Milton, but I think it's unique to Milton, and I think it is different than any other county library, and the county was doing it. So I think they at least, understand that we have a special place, and I think they would feel the same way now with this district.
Have you received much feedback from some of the owners? I mean, I know they were part of the whole process, but what is their take on this? Have you got much feedback?
We, obviously, Tom and Ryan at my office did the day-to-day visioning. We did have a CZIM meeting, I guess about a week ago, where we had several of the property owners. There were several changes that were incorporated this evening in direct response to them. One was they wanted greater flexibility to allocate where the civic spaces go. We had mapped them in the master plan, and there was, I agreed with the sentiment was that we had drawn one plan, but they may want to lay things out a little bit differently. So the requirement for specific locations was removed. The other thing that we did share with them that I did want to state on the record is that they initially had some concern that this drawing would be the code. And we explained, no, that this drawing is a vision. What is going to be codified is the street, transect zones, which you already have, and then everything in the text of the ordinance. So they can develop in a different way. They don't have to put the buildings exactly as drawn here. So there is some flexibility. And then finally, we did talk to them quite a bit about architectural styles and issues of building massing. Previously, we had probably been a bit too restrictive in what styles were appropriate in this area. We ended up just keeping I think 7 styles that you allow everywhere in Crabapple. And we did add the building height restriction to address if you had topographic conditions, creating a building that if it was 3 stories was a true 3 stories, not a 4 stories because of the way the topo fell.
Okay.
But I believe, did staff want to add anything from the CZI?
Yep. You referenced a traffic study. And I believe I heard it discussed in the ongoing comprehensive transportation plan update that at City Council that they wanted to do a special study of this area. Do we know the timing of that transportation plan and when it'll be done?
So when we spoke to the director, I mean, they're looking at like in the next 9 months or so. So it won't be done tomorrow or in 2 months, but it's in the near horizon on their list of things to do. Obviously, if we have a developer who wants to start the ground running and that timeline doesn't satisfy them, then obviously they could pursue that traffic study to discover, whether it works or not. So
Yeah, I would just caution that study needs to be done while school's in session
Right, that's
and
a good
on a
point.
rainy day, because when that happens, that the Birmingham Highway and Heritage Walk traffic circle will back up to the point that you can go southbound, but you can't it backs up northbound, so you're sometimes prevented from going east onto Heritage Walk. And I know they're trying to do some things to remedy it, to have the carpool drop off, go someplace else, and but both drop off in the morning and pick up in the afternoon, but that traffic circle can get congested. So just be aware that the timing of that traffic study is important. And then also understanding that what's the impact too, because I understand some of the school buses, when they're repositioning from the first run to the second run, go down Mid-Broadwell. So, watch that make sure you look at it on a rainy day when school's in session, but also consider what routes the school buses take to reposition and what it would mean if they took a different route.
A great point, yep.
All right, Kip, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment at all?
I do not have any cards, so somebody wants to speak or bring me a card.
Okay. All right.
Do you want to go through the code page by page?
Want to?
Want to or have to?
I mean, that's our MO here, so I wouldn't expect anything less.
Sure.
About to ask that question.
Should we do it page by page? You want to call it out?
Page,
Gonna have to, I think that's,
So my first comment on page 2 would be, why is it page 2? Where's page 1?
The page 1 is, it was the ordinance that goes to city council, so that's what it is.
Okay.
We're not trying to pull the wool over your eye.
Yeah. And then I like Fred was like going back and forth, double checking definitions. And in some cases, the definitions are not consistent with the way they're written here, because the second word is capitalized and in the definition it's not, and you're combining definitions. So I'll try to highlight that when I go through. But my other comment, 357B, my question is, will the public frontage standards, and I don't know that's public, that I think standards is defined and frontage is defined. I don't know if public frontage is defined. So check the definition there. But my question is, if it is closed to vehicular traffic, in addition to the Public Works Director and the Community Development Director determining the standards, will those also be codified post-traffic study? Is the intent that it would just be left up to them, or will it be codified? Will you amend this to codify those changes?
No, I think that's just a term that we use in general, the public frontage standards, so it's
Maybe it's
not
not a
something
defined term.
different or whatever.
Well, no, so I had 2 points there. One, check and see if
Right.
public frontage standards is indeed a definition. But my more important point is, if after the traffic study is complete or the transportation study is complete, will the change in standards come back to us to be codified? Or is it just that it'll be up to,
the directors.
yeah, and then I think we also do define community development director, the defined term. So just in general, because there were a lot of them, check all the definitions, because there were defined terms that weren't capitalized and capitalized terms, and that isn't how they were in that. So check all the
I
definitions.
hope we define him as a great guy.
Yes.
Sorry.
He could- he
That's
could-
what I was trying to
just
point
kidding.
It's a
out.
long name, yeah.
Several in there that I had to look up but couldn't find.
I will say, when it comes to that portion of the street. Now, it's up to the city council ultimately to decide whether or not they want to just close the street to vehicular traffic and still have ownership, or if they want to totally vacate the street and demap it from the city ownership. So there's a lot of options there. Then until we get the traffic study, Commissioner, I wouldn't know exactly which way the city's going to do it. But I'm sure at some point when they go to discuss what they do, there'll probably be more discussion, and it might end up stemming some additional codification of text if we need it. I'm not really sure which way they're going to go with it yet. Right now, we're leaving it loose, but I'm sure there's going to be much discussion about whether or not, we should demap it, vacate it, or just leave it and just, sort of use it as a pedestrian-only street.
So Caleb, would you say that that public frontage standards, I know that's kind of a combination of different words
The
or,
S should be lowercase under the B.
okay. So it's not a defined term.
Public frontage is defined, standards is not.
Okay, okay.
This is just warming us up for the next time.
Yeah, exactly. Right, anybody else?
Well capitalized community.
Anybody else have it on page 2? All right,
Three?
page 3. The civic spaces.
I have a question on D. It's 2 sentences, and as I read it, in the first sentence, a civic space must be at least 60 feet in width and length. And the second sentence seems to suggest that the civic space within Mayfield must be at least 30 feet in width and length. What am I missing? That doesn't,
It's, I asked the same question. So, so you're saying in 3.6.2C3,
no, D.
right?
So
And then-
within the district of Mayfield, to be at least outside, at least 60.
Just within the district.
Each civic, so first sentence, each civic space shall be at least 60 feet in width and length, except for parks, and within the city, and within the district of Mayfield, period.
Except parks and within the district. So both
Oh,
parks and
except for parks and within the district, I understand. Okay.
It's a
That's
bit of
a
a
little
jumble.
clumsy.
Right, yeah, that is, it's.
And it might be easier to say, except for parks, comma, each civic space outside the district of Mayfield shall be at least 60 feet in width and length. Within the district of Mayfield, each civic space shall be at least 30 feet.
I think that something like that would work.
Seems a bit cleaner.
On civic space.
It is civic spaces, yeah.
All right, anybody else on page 3?
Yes.
Okay.
C3, 3.6.2C3. Boy, did I have to try to look up the grammar on this one, but I think it's just in front, not in fronting. They'll have minimum on their perimeter in front. Because in front isn't, because in front is defined as a noun, I think, in our definitions.
Well,
Yeah. Or that in fronts, one or more thoroughfares. In front is defined, but in fronting is not. So just check the grammar on that, because I don't think in fronting's a word.
A verb or a, no?
That in fronts, and I think it's, but I don't know if
Same
it's,
co-
if it's
That in
defined as a
fronts.
Yeah, 'cause in
noun.
front is defined.
Okay. So I think Bob was saying 20 feet of their perimeter that in fronts one or more thoroughfares.
Yeah, I think so. And in front
Right,
is
okay.
defined, and thoroughfare is defined.
Okay. On to page 4. Off-street parking and loading. questions, comments there?
So 4.9.5 off-site parking is allowed anywhere within the district at Mayfield. But does that imply that they can use the library parking?
Well, obviously, they would have to get permission to do it, and I've had a hard time trying to get a hold of them. I've left messages, trying to help. Right.
Okay. And should we say off-site parking is allowed anywhere within the district of Mayfield with the agreement, with, that it has to have an agreement. You can't just do it. Yeah.
Right. City or
Well, yeah, it's on number C,
County-owned or-
right?
Okay.
Okay.
Everybody else on page 4? Page 5, architectural standards.
Not even here it says.
There should be a colon after, 4.16.2A. That sentence, then there should be a colon before the 7 items.
Instead of a period.
Yeah.
And this is not capitalized, should it? Article 7 of lowercase this
Mm-hmm.
is code defined.
Okay. Anybody have anything else on that one?
Just checking if code is defined.
Okay.
I feel like it's defined in the
Code
whole
is not
main-
defined, so it should also be lowercase.
I think it may be defined in the whole zoning ordinance, the main body of the zoning ordinance. I got
Oh,
it.
I was just going to our Article 13 definitions for the UDC, so again, back to the, check the definitions, but I know this is probably not a definition.
Yeah, same thing with single
I
family,
agree with you
detached
probably on that,
residential.
yeah.
And all this just needs to be checked to make sure
What are
if
they
anything's
talking about?
defined or not
Yeah.
capitalized.
All the styles probably are not, but it's a list, so, okay. I just don't want to have to redo it when it gets to the UDC.
But if the styles aren't defined, then I don't know how, where is that determined? Like, how does somebody know what that is? For the styles?
Yeah.
If that's not, is it defined? Are those styles defined somewhere?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, there's not only a definition of them, there's photographs and details. All along with
under
it.
reg.
Okay.
And those are the
Residential.
same that we've always had, and that we've been utilizing.
Okay. Page 6.
So just to go back to, we look about the parking and the permission, that reference that Caleb thought might work is really to administrative permits, not getting, what it says is an administrative permit for off-site parking may be considered in accordance with the provisions of Article 9, which is administrative permits of the zoning ordinance. So it doesn't directly say you have to get permission. It's just talking about getting an administrative permit.
But I thought we were gonna revise 495A. I wrote at the end that we were gonna actually write in that you needed to have. some
Right, and
sort
I'm
of
just confirming.
agreement. Yeah, so I was just gonna write it in here.
And we just thought maybe
Think it
that
would be-
code reference
Would
took
have
care of
taken
it. Yeah,
But I don't think it
yeah,
does.
no.
I thought it was
So
a
a
good
band
point.
around the knees, pressing out into the band.
On page 6.
Yes, we are.
Page 6D is principal defined?
Why have I-
Principal building?
Okay.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
4.4.1D. Principal building is defined, but in the definition, building is lowercase.
So I think what's going to happen in the
Agreement.
end is when everything gets codified into Muni code, they strip all of, even the definition, defined terms, they put it down into lowercase. So I think we just have to, I mean, even though we put uppercase, when it gets codified and whenever that's going to be, they're going to strip them all. That's what they do. So I mean, if we want to,
But then we're going in the UDC and recapitalizing them because they're defined.
I'm sorry, what?
In
I
the
mean,
UDC, any defined terms we're capitalizing.
no, I know, and I understand that. And I mean, we can keep them capitalized if you want to, but what I'm saying, ultimately, when it goes into Muni code and becomes codified, the editors always strip the terms, defined terms. They take away the capitalization.
Okay, so my question on warrant was the same. The warrant is,
That's a defined term.
no, but I meant all. Could be ended up small case.
It is, when they codify it into it, I mean, that's their practice, so.
So you're saying we don't need to worry about the capitalizations if they're defined?
That's, do you agree with that, Paul, that it appears that they?
I agree that they do that.
Whether that's right or not, I don't.
I don't agree with them doing it, but I don't think there's, I mean, you know, what, I would like to be consistent in what we present to them. And if they take it out, they take it out.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
is we choose one way or the other. You want to capitalize defined terms. I'm just letting you know, whenever it gets codified, it's going to get taken out. But I
Yep.
think I've said that before.
Yep. Well, this is a different capitalization. So in 4.4.1 and 4.4.2, the standard seems to be that we capitalize words in a title. So zones and zones should be capitalized. Then in the title, 4.41, zones, 4.42 zone, 4.43 zones, capitalize Z.
All right, we have that. All right, on to 7.
4.4.A, edge yard is defined as 2 words, not 1.
Side yard was okay.
Side yard building is 1 word, lowercase b. Yep. But the edge yard is defined as 2 words.
Okay.
Okay,
4.4C or 4.4.4C, I would just spell out the word feet, 30 feet. Or just keep it the same wherever, so,
5 feet, 30 feet.
yeah.
okay.
And then going on to that.
So I want to wait, before we go on, that's the section that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This,
Okay, so on D, if you want to, staff recommendation, it should say, lot includes 1 existing legal principal building, not plural, placed along the principal. That's the case that Caleb explained, having an existing building and then allowing only 1 additional building behind it.
was, so principal building is fine.
Mm-hmm.
So then we don't need the word legal in front of that then, because if it is considered a principal building, then it's already, defined that way, it's legal that way then. You don't have to use the word legal then.
given the proposal to change it to existing, I'm comfortable with that. I wanted to, there was some situation that had occurred in my mind why we wanted to be a legal structure. But it escapes me what it was, but I think that was when we were envisioning multiple buildings on the site. I think the idea was that we wanted to make sure it conformed, but then upon further discussion, we recognized that perhaps the historic buildings don't conform to every aspect of the code, but they're there. So I'm comfortable with removing the term.
Okay. And then you got the C where we're spelling out 30 feet like we did the 5 feet? Okay.
And on,
One more question on that 4.4.4D. So I know it says throughout, it says lot. Is it going to be a lot or is it a parcel? For parcel? Okay.
a little nit on 4.4 4B. The first word there is facade. It has an accent cedilla in it, and I'm not sure we need to have the accent in there.
Oh, we took it out of form-based code.
Oh, I see. Okay, so we take it out. Okay, that was a question that comes up in the UDC.
Yeah, I know. I asked it a number of times, as I recall. So just to show that I'm consistent.
Exactly.
Okay, we take it out.
I like that. All right, 7, are we done? 8? Looks like down in the general, and zones should probably be capitalized again, in the general to zones. Anybody have questions on the maximum building height?
One thing, so this is, so page 8, this is section 4.5.
Yeah, it went to 2.6.
Sorry, 2 point,
Yeah, they're not catching up yet. Give them a second.
okay. So it's 2.6. It's going to be now called
section.
2.6.
Yeah.
All those are the right sections now, the ones that are at the top. That's the new section number?
2.6, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Yeah, because we have 2.1 through 2.5.
Okay,
yeah, okay.
Need a space between the period and the, there should be a space before building form. But let them catch up.
2.6, okay.
Okay, sorry for all these sidebars. Page 8,
Yeah,
at the bottom of the page, when it's speaking about building height, A, it says, in all areas except the district at Mayfield, we want to change it, building height limits do not include attics.
So we're getting rid of apply and writing include.
Okay, and then the next paragraph, which is a new paragraph, would state, in the district at Mayfield, building height limits include attics and above-ground portions of basements, but do not include masts, belfries, clock towers, chimney flues, water tanks, or elevator bulkheads. Attics shall not exceed 14 feet in height. So that basically saying that I think there's been concern in the past about the crabapple having, you have 3 stories, but then you kind of have a pseudo 4th story. It's basically going to exclude that, counting that extra rooftop stuff.
So strike the 3 apply to and replace with include?
Yes.
Okay.
What's the reason for that?
Yeah.
So currently in the code, it allows when you look at the number of stories that we don't, we discount
What's the
based.
apply to versus include?
Just thought it was cleaner to write include rather than apply.
I would honestly say a limit would apply to rather than include.
Okay, so we can keep applied if you think it's better. Okay.
A question that, so the section numbers, these are going to be the new section numbers at the top of each of these pages? Like section 2.6? No.
No, those are existing.
So the new section number is going to be,
Oh. Well, only things in red are new.
so only things in red are new, so then,
Right. For the entire document.
If I may address the commission, part of the challenge here was that Muni Code is so behind in codifying the City of Milton's code. And so rather than copy the entire form-based code into here, what we did is we identified the sections that would be amended. And so they are, the top is just a section for ordinance purposes. It's section 2.6 of the ordinance. But then it says that section 451 regarding is hereby amended as shown. So what you're seeing here is the amended text in red. Anything redlined is different. Anything not redlined is current code. So we're sort of taking out blocks, and rather than change one or two words, it's just easier to replace the whole section 451, section 444, that structure.
but then it's going to be the new section number that you put, like section, it's going to now be, this is going to be, instead of section 4.5.1, it's going to be section 2.6?
No, it will remain. It will remain. The section 2.6 is only for the ordinance purposes.
I think, so if you
Actual
have,
amendment is below.
if you have like the amendment is section 2 of the amendment, or section 2.1 of the amendment says amend section 4.4.4 of the Crabapple Code. Is that what I'm saying?
Okay.
If that helps.
Okay.
It took me a while to
So,
get
but I
that
guess-
as well. Is there a section 1 of the amendment? 'Cause we start with 2.1.
Right.
Yeah, it starts at it starts at,
We
under
just have an
2.1.
excerpt, I think is what he's saying.
Yeah, I get it now. So he's
And then
like,
We're
added
not seeing 4.1
3.7.
through
Yeah, I don't-
4.4 of 2.6.
But you're correct that 4.4.4 that's a totally new section. It's been added because it's all in red on page 7.
The ordinance, I believe section 1 it's in the cover ordinance, it's to repeal
Okay.
whatever, and then section 2 is the actual amendment.
So basically, you have an ordinance amendment that says, section 1, something is repealed. Old section 2, here are the changes, 2.1, new section 3.57, 2.2, whatever it is, section 3.6 is amended, if that helps.
okay.
Unison.
Yeah.
Good to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Page 9, I think I can say we're all good with that one.
I'm sorry, what?
Page 9, I think I can say we're all good with that one.
Yep, that sounds good. That's an easy peasy one.
Okay, so page 10. Table amendments. Civic space B, green, excluding the Milton district or the district at Mayfield.
Here's in all of them.
So I think Caleb's just putting the exception about all the
Yeah.
Mayfield, the
That makes
district
sense?
at
Are you
Mayfield.
good with that? All right. And then page 11. Also putting in there, except as further restricted by the district at Mayfield.
And
So a question on that one, do we have to say, except as further restricted in the district Mayfield by section 2.5, subsection 4.4.4? We have to also, or is this table 6 part of 2.5?
No.
Okay.
2.5 is just for the to keep track of the amendment. Section 4.4.4 is the actual crabapple code.
Okay. Ignore the section 2, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Again, the same thing on
This is 2.7,
Ed-
yeah, and then this is.
yard, side yard.
2.7 in the amendment.
all grammatical, I guess it'll be corrected.
It's 3-story. So that's
Basically, all the 2.1
Right,
through
3 stories.
2.7s will disappear, are not part of the code.
That's right.
Right, just part of the amendment.
That's what I was clarifying, because I
Okay,
was like,
yeah, I'm catching up. I'm catching
that's
up.
why I was like, wait.
It took me a while.
Yeah, I didn't. no.
Not having the rest of it.
Yeah, that wasn't
Incredibly
clear. I didn't know where.
Before you move on, I've got to ask them.
Oh, yeah.
We were on 11.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna say, before you ask, page 12 at the
Before you go to
bottom.
12,
Huh?
before you go to 12, that's me over here. On 11, I think it, except as further restricted in the district at Mayfield by section. So that first by in the new language looks, yep. Thank
Hear
you.
that? Okay. Okay, on page 12, there had been a typo in the current code, so Caleb just fixed it at the bottom under building form height, under T2 and T3. It had said 3 stories and it needed to be 2, so that's there, just FYI. And then I guess there's all these, you have any questions about the number 5, which I don't see.
Which is not listed. Yeah, 5 is not listed at the bottom.
Okay, got rid of number 5, so we have to take it
Just
off.
taking it off.
Okay, so number 5, what is it, ampersand or whatever you call it? Okay.
We're gonna let Sumit make the
Okay.
motion on this one.
And
Gave up
fix
on it.
T3 to.
This needs an attorney.
Looked at it and on.
Caleb, do we wanna, what page? There's no code, okay.
There is no file, but no 5.
Okay.
Just
A period of the first bullet.
I think we're discussing the fact that there's no footnote number 5.
Footnote number 5, correct.
That's because we're not using it anymore.
Yeah, I can read it. This file is very wonky. Footnote 5 is an exception to the civic spaces in D, as we mentioned before. It's an exception to the setback requirements, and it is exception to the alternative building standards. What it says is within the district at Mayfield, different requirements apply. It's just making it clear that, you have to look somewhere else for those.
Okay.
Next.
Should we?
They can't do
We're good?
shared parking outside of the district.
We're good? This is the time to do it. No.
Be okay if somebody in Milton said, oh, I want to use parking and go down to the clock, Larry Davenport's site and say, okay, that's where we're going to get our required parking. 'Cause Distance.
Okay, great. So page 13. There's only one change on there from the 3 to 2 stories for principal building.
Right, that's the
Yeah.
correction, yes.
Okay.
That's in T3, so we were just making that correction from the prior.
Okay,
Back again, stories, at the bottom of parking placement, N stands for any stories. Stories is not defined. Layers is not defined, so capital words that aren't defined.
What were you saying?
It was
About-
layers.
Under parking placement, the word layers is not defined, and at the very end, under 3, there's this N stands for, stories is also not defined.
Trash containers?
Actually, layer is defined, I
Yeah,
strike that.
Layer was defined.
Layer is defined, story is not.
Stories is,
Oh, story is defined, stories isn't defined. Strike that. Yep, it is defined. Never
okay.
mind,
Okay.
I'm going stir crazy over here.
We thought it was in there because we've been
Strike
using it for
those
so
two.
long.
Yeah.
All right.
Layers and stories and.
Back up the tape,
Okay.
layers and story is defined.
okay.
Okay.
So on page 14, is that where we are right now? I think everything's good up until there?
Yeah.
All right. So the definitions.
Do we need late 2023 and early 2023? The first,
Man, we need a period.
There's no middle 2023. So. Okay. so
And I actually, on that phrase, I was like, gee, I'd feel better if that was a little bit more specific, if it's going to be a definition as opposed to like the area showed on a plan. Like, where do I find the plan? Rather than, yeah, we talked about it in the last 6 months. Is there any way to definitely say this is the plan? Like attaching this or?
We talked about, I think that
I mean,
at
should
some
be
point
almost
there
down
needs
to
to be
parcel
an
numbers?
adoption of,
Plan is actually showing
No,
the
but-
area.
but Caleb's talking about referencing the plan, the small area plan. So the area shown on the regulating plan, and that was the focus of a small area plan of the same. I mean, I think I'm okay with, so long as we show it on the regulating
Yeah,
plan. We
you
don't
don't
really
even have
need to
to reference
reference the
it.
other one.
Right.
Yeah, just like we do
Ultimately,
5
regulating
acre,
plan,
yeah.
just like
'Cause-
we do 5 acre.
Because my concern also would be is if we amend it and if we amend the plan in a year, and then we have to strike that language because it wasn't what we talked about at
Yeah.
that time. So
Yeah.
strike from and that
Yes.
on.
And I think that's what my intention was, just to
Yeah.
reference the regulating
So you're
plan.
saying
I'm sorry
delete that
for
whole last half of the
A
sentence?
plan is strike from after,
And that-
strike after plan, because the plan is the plan,
Yeah.
and it may be updated from time to time, but it's not only the plan that was the last 6 months.
Makes sense to me.
add a period. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, off-site parking, off-street parking. You guys have questions on 14? Nope. And then the
And
regulating,
is shared parking, so if I have 2 restaurants that are the same use, sharing parking, isn't that also shared parking? So it's the same use, this defines shared parking by defining their different uses. What if they're the same use, but different owners, it's no longer shared parking?
Yeah, you could just change it to one or more uses.
By one or more uses.
Okay.
And it, because it
change the
could
2 to
be the
1?
same use, because it could be the same use for two property owners.
Good point.
Okay.
I'm awake again.
You're awake tonight.
Just in time for UDC. Then the regulating plan. I'll do that. Awesome.
Easy peasy.
Awesome sauce. Do we need to say, do we need to recommend something? Do we need to,
I'm sorry, you have to
we
start over
need to
again.
recommend something? Or
Yes,
is this?
it's a text amendment, so you guys can make a motion and blah, blah, blah.
I can do it, sure. In regards to RZ 23-01, I would make a motion to recommend the changes as discussed to this crabapple form-based code.
Second that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Got it. Oh, we wouldn't.
You can go.
I'll go, I'll take this one.
Okay.
Distinguished guest.
All right. Oh, now comes,
Guest from the BCA.
Working crew.
now comes our monthly update.
The BCA. Yes.
Yeah.
Doug and
Are they
Adam.
on the district? Were they on the committee for the district?
No.
Kurt may know. I think Kurt you were on the committee, right?
Were they on the
Yes.
committee? They were on the committee.
The BZA guys.
Yeah.
Did we do okay? Yeah. Don't bring a definition to this group.
Yeah.
I was on the
Straight.
BCA. I was on the BCA before.
I think we,
Okay.
Jack, I think we can go ahead.
We just let them. Good evening, Planning Commission.
Good evening. How you doing? Good evening.
Yeah, tonight, providing updates again for the status of the comprehensive plan short-term work program projects, and just kind of like give you a recap of what just happened with the district at Mayfield and what's our next step on that plan.
Okay.
So let's start with the district at Mayfield. So this project is getting close to the finish line. Just to restate the purpose of this project, we have engaged TSW to assist the city with developing a master plan for that district. And, you know, as Caleb mentioned earlier, it's comprised of 22 parcels affecting 17.83 acres of land. So here's a recap of what took place in the last 2 months and what to expect in the coming weeks. We completed the public engagement phase for this project where stakeholders participate in the development of the plan. Last month, we did present the master plan, the regulating plan, and the text updates to council for feedback. The text amendment cycle started this month. CZIM was held on April 19th, and tonight you've heard Caleb presented the proposed text amendments. Then finally, let's save the date on this one. So on June 6th, this will be presented again to the city council for consideration. Oh, June 5th, not June 6th? Okay, I'm sorry. So that's a correction.
And again, very good job on that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
thought that whole process was good.
Yeah. Urban growth boundary. So the stakeholder committee also completed a total 4 public meetings, which started in November of last year. And then the final meeting took place last month to finalize the UGB map and the proposed resolution. So our senior planner, Shubha Jangam, will present the project's progress report and the urban growth boundary resolution in the next county council meeting. So that's Monday next week.
While we're on that topic, both Kurt and I sat on that committee, and we spent a lot of time really understanding the pros and cons. But we had a couple of principles that we wanted to apply to, and we're glad to see that was the recommendation. And one is to make sure the urban growth boundaries were consistent with our comprehensive land use plan. And secondly, that we would do the needful to update the current comprehensive plan to incorporate that and not wait 5 more years. Because when you make a significant change to something like this, it should be amended,
away.
not
Mhm.
wait around. So just kind of 2 things that were principles that Kurt and I made sure happened in
And we're going to look
Urban growth
into the
boundaries.
process of amending. So we'll check with DCA guidelines on that as well.
Okay.
So yes, and then once the urban growth boundary is adopted, we'll initiate the process of updating the 2040 comprehensive plan. Of course, Planning Commission continues to review the Unified Development Code. There are 8 more articles to go in the next subsequent Planning Commission meetings. Tonight, you'll be reviewing, I believe, Article 6, the Special Purpose District.
So with that said, I'm going to interject.
Okay.
I think I talked to Commissioner Birds and maybe Commissioner Gilbert, I can't remember, about possibly looking at adding a couple meetings, mid-month meetings, work sessions, just trying to, because we are getting more and more stuffs. I mean, just items on the agenda. We don't just have this. So something you guys can discuss and then, anyway.
So the idea is that we'd have a work session to, let's say, not have any zoning or any
Right.
other updates.
It's
The
just a
only
work
agenda
session
items
on-
will be, we're going to knock this
Right,
out.
just go through 1 or 2 of these at a time.
This is what we had to use to work our way through the tree ordinance. And I think it's a good way to do it. Just get focus and get things done.
Yeah, I think, I think that makes sense from our standpoint. I think work sessions, additional work sessions are needed to move this thing along, I think.
Are we thinking 1 additional meeting a month for the next 3 months? Is there a month that's bad? I'm retired, so I have all sorts of time.
Poor Sumi.
Well,
He's like
realistically,
the only one here not retired.
Not far from
Oh,
it.
okay.
I mean, of the upcoming ones, I think, what would make reasonable work session meeting? 7A and B and 8, I don't, having whoever's gone through those.
I think
or-
7A and 7B are going to be independent, should be independent discussions.
Separate meetings or same
Separate,
meetings?
separate meetings. They're long, like
Yeah.
Article 6.
Okay.
And
These
the-
provisions is long. I mean, they're all pretty meaty coming up, so maybe Jackie and I can come up with a plan.
Okay.
and
We'll
then-
coordinate
If you
with
could
the dates.
Map something
yeah.
out of how many
Yeah.
meetings you think it'll take
Yeah.
and,
And in general, is Wednesday nights best with people, and is there room available?
I think Wednesday's good. It's Monday, Tuesdays, it's bad.
okay.
And I know Thursdays and some
Thursdays.
other committees have meeting.
Yeah, I think Wednesday
Wednesday it is.
Wednesday it is.
Yep, propose some dates, but probably more, since we're meeting we'll still meet once a month for the planning commission. So I'm thinking, see if we can add 1 per month
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
see how we do. And
I
if we
think
need,
1 per month, and then if we can actually attack one in a regular session, that would be great.
So,
And the UDC public review portal is still open for public comments. Citizens can still access the software through the city's website. So there's that. Next one is flag lots. There was a public meeting discussion of the flag lots restrictions. It was held here in the community place. That was back in February. The consensus from the meeting was to eliminate flag lots in major subdivisions. However, there was not a consensus on flag lots outside of major subdivisions. So staff presented the 3 recommended options. As you see on the screen, the 3 different options, which is to prohibit flag lots in major subdivisions citywide, 1.5 acre minimum flag lot size requirement, and maximum of 10% of total lot size can count toward flag stem. So this was presented to the city council this week, and these options were received favorably by the council. Any questions on this one?
So is it each of those 3 recommendations?
Just, I want we thought to get rid of all of them, but
We tried.
much for that.
We tried.
Okay. And then, so the next step for this one is to go through the text amendment process. So it'll start.
But is the
with-
recommendation for each of those three things, or is it number
So
one and
we
number three,
presented
or
the recommended options and council favored
all three?
all three.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And so again, we'll do the text amendment process. I'll let you know the details of the date. I'm pretty sure that this one will probably next month's CZIM.
And why didn't we move to prohibit flag lots?
I'm sorry, what?
Why aren't we prohibiting flag lots?
That's probably a question for our,
I can
Staff
answer,
lead.
just in one case, I was told basically that it was unfair to families who were dividing properties and their properties within the same family, and it come down to where there basically was a flag lot. And that would restrict the family from being able to do that. That came from, same idea from council to council, the council, and also the mayor.
Because other cities around here have managed to get rid of flag lots, and I guess they didn't have any aging population. I don't understand why we're not,
I could be.
I don't understand how we got here. I mean, this is,
Wasn't at that meeting.
I wasn't either, but I heard a lot of opposition to completely getting rid of flag lots. So this was, Bob was at that meeting too, and, we.
So initially, when we brought it to council, they said, well, there was some community opposition. Council basically directed us to bring it back, to do some public vetting, to have these focus groups, with the understanding that we'd come up with some sort of compromise that would work for everybody. So then we met with the focus group, and some of them said, we don't want them, and some of them said, we want to leave it just the way it is. So then we went back and said, look, if we increase it from 1 acre to 1.5 acres and only let 10% of the stem count towards that 1.5, so if it's longer, then you actually have to make it larger. It ultimately ends up being around a little over 4.5 acres is your minimum in order to get, the 3 lots in there. So it's sort of a good compromise. I think it got rid of the people that were coming in with 3-acre lots and then creating 3 flag lots. And ultimately, the lot was like 0.85 acre because the stem counted. When you take the stem out,
Right.
your buildable area was 0.85. So now at this point, at least I'll have at least 1.5 acres
Okay.
of lot area.
Okay,
But yeah, it was more of a compromise on what it was.
okay.
The branding study project is now in motion. Council was briefed in February on the project plan, goals, and timeline of this project. The first stakeholder committee meeting took place in March. This was an opportunity for the consultants and the committee to discuss project expectations and desired outcomes. As you probably already know, a branding survey was launched in late March to gather input from the community on how they perceive Milton. If you have not done so, I highly encourage you to take this survey. This survey will close on May 15th. Last, the project team is finalizing the logistics of the branding workshop, which is scheduled for June 5th to June 7th. I'll let you know more about the details as we get closer to that date.
I'll let the commission know that we've gotten over 400 survey responses already. So I'm really hoping that everybody gets on, fills it out. It's very short, but I think it is our branding. So I encourage you to tell everybody, the more people we have, the more, the better result we'll get on the branding.
That's
Yeah, I'll say, that's great.
And for our size of our community, ideally 500 will be,
I'd
a
be
good
pretty
number.
proud of that.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So far, we're doing pretty good with it.
Well, we should remember, I mean, we should make note of that for rollout, so other things that we touch the same buttons, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
And one of our economic development initiatives is in the comprehensive plan is to pursue a greater emphasis on economic development using a diverse toolbox of strategies. And one of those strategies is to focus on the Deerfield area. So if you recall, the city of Milton partners with the North Fulton Community Improvement District, or NFCID, and the city of Alpharetta to develop a strategic master plan for Windward Parkway and Highway 9 corridors. Here is some information that was shared with us by the project team. This strategic plan will identify potential investments in mobility, transportation, green space, and placemaking to improve the area's quality of life and economic competitiveness. And that plan includes, there's, I think, 4 items, or 5, which is an updated approach to land use and transportation, strategies for integrating the planned high-capacity transit station, an updated market study, a branding strategy, and a strategies for economic development. So those are the 5 items that will be included in that strategic plan.
And if I can interject, we scheduled 2 stakeholder meetings for the community at large, because that's really coming along nicely. We're working with those consultants. They were here today. They keep coming down. I'm forcing them to come down, honestly. I hate to use the word force, but I am. I just want to make sure that they really have it geared towards Milton. So we're driving through Milton, looking at Milton. We're not just talking in general terms. We're talking Milton terms. So the dates, May 24th was set already. So I encourage, if anybody would like to attend that, to get a good handle on what it is. It's been very informative, the data that they're sending back. And we're really Miltonizing that data, very specific to Milton.
So we have a planning commission meeting on May 24th, so will it be?
We do, yeah, we have a good,
Earlier
we
in
have
the
some.
day?
It'll be during the day.
So a couple comments on the Deerfield character area. Did I mention I'm retired, so I have too much time to read the paper too. 2 interesting things is Alpharetta just approved a rather large concept plan for what they're calling Windward Park, east of 400, a mixed-use development there. And the developers just north of McGinnis Ferry along Union Hill and Ronald Reagan, just north of this area, are proposing The Gathering, which will include an 18,000-seat arena to possibly attract major events and perhaps even a sports team there. So there's some major development being done by our neighbors in the surrounding area that I'm sure will weigh in on this as well. I believe The Gathering the Windward Park has been approved by Alpharetta. The Gathering is going in front of Forsyth County soon. Yesterday, was it? Yeah.
So I'll just let the commission know, so historically, LCIs are really geared more towards transportation. You know, with these projects coming in, what does the transportation look like? But when we set ours up for the Milton portion, we also injected land use. So we said, look, you know, not only is the transportation between the two connecting, but we also want to say, what's our current land use look like? How does our land use facilitate development, you know, entice development, and what type of development? So we're really looking at a land use component in there as well. And I think that's really going to be more of a market analysis to say, hey, what are we trying to attract? You know, how do we attract those businesses into Milton? So I think it's going to be a lot more information than we're used to receiving on a standard LCI. Like the previous LCI, it was mostly transportation based, and most of those projects are actually being implemented right now, which is the, you know, in a new interchange and the high speed bus service and the Highway 9 widening. So it's, we're looking at maybe potentially a new flyover on Webb to Alpharetta so that we can connect those two, because Webb right now just dies at 400. So we're looking at it just a flyover, not an interchange, but a flyover. But other than that, we're really trying to focus it more on types of businesses, land use, having more, pedestrian connectivity in the area, the visual character of the area. How do we really enhance the whole Deerfield area in its totality? So there is a branding component in this, and there's a branding consultant separately, and I'm making the two branding teams get together to make a very specific brand just for Deerfield to say, how does that going to look? So I think there's quite a bit of checkers going on, playing, and I think you'll be pretty pleased with when they make the presentation. I've been seeing the sub presentations, and they're really, really.
Yeah.
I think they're hitting them out of the park. So I'm pretty proud of what we're doing there.
Yeah. Can we get city communications to start doing a save the date for that event, and especially to publicize it in that area to reach them? I
Yes.
don't,
So the meeting we had today with the consultants also we included Greg, our communications director, specifically for that. And he came in and he was taking notes and keeping track of the days. And he's going to be doing some web releases to notify the public and try to give them some updates on what we're doing and things. Yes, you'll be seeing those very shortly. We just met like an hour before I got here.
yeah. But
So,
even promoting it to some of the HOA presidents in that area and
Yes.
some other influencers, some business leaders.
Yep.
some-
And actually, we have on that team, I have 30 stakeholders, 15 from Alpharetta and 15 from Milton. And they include the Deerfield Association, several HOA presidents that were there, that were very engaged in the Highway 9 widening, business leaders, you name it. Well, I can give you a full list, Commissioner, of all of them. There's 30, and it's really a diverse group. I think it's a large group, but we're really getting a lot out of it, and we're spending quite a bit of time. I have developers, landowners, business owners, a lot of different groups. I'll show you the full list and what their affiliations are.
Yeah, but with it being in the day, I think getting the save the date out sooner would be helpful so people can schedule around it.
Yep, and we'll be getting that out. We just did it about an hour ago, so I'm kind of giving it to you hot off the press.
So, I mean, no.
Why isn't it out yet? I'll have to talk to Greg. What's
Sounds good.
taking him so long?
All right.
Right, and last is just to show you the project timeline for that particular project. So it looks like the completion date for this project will be, you're looking at December. A lot of public engagement will probably take place between June and December.
Great.
Lastly, important dates. So urban growth boundary, May 1st, district at Mayfield, that's June 5th. And then the branding study workshop, just June 5th to June 7th. That
24th is
is the, yes,
24th.
the windward. And that's all I have for this month's update.
Cool.
That one thing that Judy brought up about the gap, Forsyth, in that meeting, it was brought up that also are proposing there not another exit off of 400.
Right, for that.
I
new
mean, we
development.
haven't even begun to finish.
Guinness Ferry.
Guinness interchange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens. And just to let you know, Highway 9, I mean, they're working on the Alpharetta portion. And then I told Public Works, as you realize they're also working on the Forsyth County portion. So that whole section from our city line going forward, they're already starting.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
we
Clear.
sort of have a little gap here for Milton. But
I was up 9 this morning. I couldn't realize that taking all of the trees
everything.
Both
is getting
sides
done.
out.
Yeah, they're just really working on it. So we're gonna sort of be this little gap in between the complete Alpharetta and,
Mhm.
All right.
you could tell I'm anxious to get it done. I think it's 10 years that I've been here that it's getting
We've
done.
been talking about it,
It's
yeah.
been 10 years I've been talking about that. I'm hoping to see it one day.
So Jackie, is the fact that we're going to update the transportation plan included in here someplace?
What's the,
The city council funded the update of the comprehensive transportation plan.
yeah.
Why would it be separate?
Several transportation projects. Let's see. Is it the CTP?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a reason it's called the comprehensive plan. Or the strategic plan. All encompassing.
I believe it's not part of the short-term work program, but it's part of the strategic plan.
I
complete-
do see down at T.6.
I think I noted that.
Updating the comprehensive transportation plan slated to be completed by the end. So the bottom of the.
Oh, here,
fourth
it's
to the last
CTP
page.
slated to be completed.
T.6.
Yep.
If you could make sure we're up on that, because land use and roads kind of are interrelated. Not kind of, they are interrelated.
And I noted that CTP slated to be completed by the end of 2023. That's according to their updates provided.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an important plan because the T-Splosh money funding gets appropriated in accordance with that plan. So if you would ask Public Works right now, what does phase 2 look like? They would say, well, we have to complete the update of the CTP.
Okay.
Important plan.
I agree. Thank you, Jackie. Good job.
Jump right on. Just to clarify, the dump on milk. No, it's Chatham, it's,
Yeah,
that Milton
it is.
sign, I'm told, as of about 4 or 5 hours ago, that there's a service station going in.
Yep.
There is.
Yeah, it's a very long story,
It's a
but
long story. It was part of actually a
No, about that.
zoning settlement agreement with the courts. And then we worked it out.
so
and,
the zoning was actually done in Fulton County, and it was in a weird timing with the city incorporation. Nobody told us about it, and then the property owner's like, I want to develop my gas station, and we're like, whoa, 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 the last thing we saw, it was, denied, and you couldn't do that, and then there was negotiations between the city
City
and,
and the landowner.
right.
And I actually designed it for him, came up with a plan that everybody said looked good, and we said, okay, we'll do it. And what we did was we made like a little note, a commercial development, and I made it so that they have to build at least 3 buildings along Arnold Mill Road initially, so that we'd have some mass there. And then we put some internal roads. The next time we have a meeting, I'll bring in the plan, and I can bring in the architecture.
I mean, I told the lady, I was almost sure in Milton,
It is.
asked, when's the plan for the closing of that? And I said, well, been in here 17 years here, that it's going to next couple of years. I don't know.
Yeah.
There is still a final date on that closing of.
Yes, yes,
There
yeah.
is a-
Yeah, we put that in. That was another, we ended up almost going to call with them. And we ended up agreeing to not just closing it, but how to close it, how to cover it and make it look
Like a
visually
park?
pleasant. Like, well, they haven't decided that yet.
No, they haven't.
They're just going into closing. So we envisioned a park there once, but there's no talk about that right now.
Okay.
But I will show you what the gas station looks like.
Yeah, we can show
They
you.
hesitated a little bit because they didn't
I'm
have
sure
water.
glad you said it, because I was.
Yeah, it's all, yeah.
That can't happen unless we knew about it.
That's
No, we
right.
did, yes.
That's true. But yeah, I think you'll be satisfied.
Now we know
with
about
what
it.
looks
No,
like.
but,
It came out really
right.
nice.
Yeah, she had a presentation on it a while back,
Village to
the planning.
the planning commission.
Maybe you were out that
I don't know
week.
which date, but I did present it. It also ranked in DRB, it's also in DRB.
But they wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll bring it back in
We'll
front
bring
of
it
you.
back.
I think you'll like it.
Yeah.
You'll like the
Well,
one
that
that
doesn't
came
have to
in.
be
It
long,
really
just
came
a
out
little.
very
I
nice.
was assured that they couldn't be building a gas station there. I just.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I can eat mine.
Bob,
the-
one of the
the-
recommendations out of the UGB is that there would be, it was to recommend that there be a small area study done for the
Yes.
Arnold Mill corridor
That's correct.
in light of what the latest transportation plan, et cetera. So I think there's, because it came up at a couple meetings to say, what about Arnold Mill? And it was like, can't draw a urban growth boundary until we know what the land use plan is.
Right.
So,
No, it's true. The next step would be, well, we still have to do a small area plan for the Arnold Mill corridor. But we really thought from a priority standpoint, we'd like to get the other items done, because I think it's important to get those done first, and then we were going to go back and, we have 5 years to do it, so not everything gets done in the first year. So that is slated for 2024.
Okay, fair enough. All right. On to Article 6.
Yes,
Okay, all right, I'm going to go.
no,
All right, thank you
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Thanks very much.
thank you all.
Thanks, Jack.
our special guest.
Thanks, Shubha.
Special guest.
Glad you answered that question.
Well, you can't
I'll
leave.
bring it. I'll bring it.
I will be back, no matter what.
You want to take a bathroom break?
restroom
Yeah.
break.
You want to
Nice
take like a
try.
5-minute bathroom break?
That's
Or
what
Sure.
I did.
Please,
Okay.
let us in that direction.
Yeah, and you, before we get started,
Get some water, would you like it?
I didn't even take a nap.
What I'm saying, I'm just.
Well, I do want to show you.
We'll talk about settlement.
Right.
So, King, I'm gonna go.
See ya.
Thanks.
Yeah, I got mine beforehand. Stretch my legs. Came over to see what Trey was up to. He's like, watch the latest Mandalorian.
I was on the map and my. Oh, they have, well.
He could hurt me.
Yeah, that's right, it woke us all up.
Never a dull moment.
Kind of. It's kind of impossible.
Back to that thing.
That's the one I got.
That's what I got.
Yeah, it's 11-7, draft 5.
Okay.
And if you don't have a paper copy, Paul has two, because I accidentally took his the last time, and he reprinted it again.
Anybody?
I just do mine electronically, but I don't know that I have the.
Okay,
I got it.
Robin,
Here we go.
let's, you have something?
yeah, just a question for
Just for
Robin.
clarification, Robin, on your sheet that brought up the comments from Conveo, is page 4, 6-4?
Yes, I just didn't want to have to say it over and over. Yeah, yeah.
Robin, thanks very much for sending out those, the stuff from Conveo. I think that was,
Okay,
I think that was
it
very
was
helpful. I saw on it in the right-hand column, you've made certain comments on
I'm
the,
sorry, I didn't just hear you.
on the right-hand column of what you set out, you had certain comments that you put in
Right,
there.
yeah.
So at least as I understood it, 99% of what your comments were supportive of the changes that had been requested.
Right.
And so are we to assume that all those changes are now in the works to be
Well,
made?
I thought we would go through it together in case some of y'all's comments were the same or
Okay.
similar. And we'll just go through it, I mean, page by page, and if something applies, just,
Sounds good.
yeah. No, I don't want you to think, oh, I'm changing all this. I want it just as a guide for tonight's meeting.
Okay, so Article 6.
Okay.
I have nothing on 6-1.
Nice. That's
I'll
encouraging.
concur. All right. Let's do 6-2. Anybody have anything on 6-2? Nope. All right. 6-3. State Route 9. Any comments there? So far, so good. 6-4, with the map, the regulations and applicability.
Right, so the purpose of these maps are just to show the geographic area of the overlay district, not necessarily to show the zoning district, but I did talk to Caleb tonight. We could insert a hyperlink to our GIS, so if somebody wants to have that.
That'd be great. Good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, where's Caleb? He took
Oh,
off?
He's making all
you
the
have to-
changes.
You have to understand, our contract with him is like 6 years old, and he's working under very inexpensive money, and I want to preserve that for me.
Okay.
So, we only have so much money left, so I'm like, you don't need to stay, so.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry, I might be blind, but there's the pine tree. Okay, it's up at.
It's up
Hopewell
there
and
at Hopewell and
Cogburn.
Cogburn. It's the Bethwell House. That was just a question that they had.
Okay,
So that's easy.
because there are other, and then there's the one that's underneath the handwriting off Webb. There's another little pine tree that's half hidden with the label of the street on intersecting Webb. 2 pine trees.
Yep.
And the land we just bought some land at Bethany west of.
Right, it's on Webb.
There should be.
Oh,
another-
no, on Bethany. Oh, you're saying.
Yeah, we just bought some parkland west of the stuff that's crosshatched, so we need a little pine tree there too.
Or I could just take all the pine trees off, because that's
Or
not
just
really the
take the
point
pine
of
trees
it.
off.
I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna get into that.
Remove the pine trees, okay.
It was just our GIS person, we needed to create new maps, so.
Strike the 2 pine trees,
All right.
okay?
Okay, on 6-5, the comment is, should there be a comma? Should the comma be a colon in 622A, second paragraph?
Okay. We'll work off, so yes, there's a 62.2.a second paragraph.
Should the comma be, I mean,
Should the comma be a colon?
Height.
I don't. Do we have any?
Examples of outdoor amenity areas include.
It's,
but
it says here
not-
on,
That first
under page
sentence?
5,
I'm sorry, well, oh,
and if you go over, it says, should the,
Since this is a list, should the comma be a
I
colon
don't think so.
6.2.2A?
It says
right,
examples of
second
outdoor.
paragraph.
sorry, what?
So
Where it says
of an
examples of outdoor amenity areas include but are not limited to.
But are not limited to,
Yes.
should that be a
Comma's fine.
colon?
Oh, okay.
Comma's fine?
So, should that be a
I
colon?
think so.
Okay.
Okay. So never mind what I said. It's okay.
I mean, either is fine. I don't.
Yeah, I guess my point is how the normal,
In almost all the other sections, it was a include but are not limited to, comma.
okay, so comma's the,
Is this-
Practice.
It was in, because I had a lot of them in some of my sections, and some of them had this, they should, the common practice grammatically on include but not limited to is comma, comma.
comma, so comma, okay,
Okay.
Because you're offsetting the but are not limited to.
okay. Whatever you said, that, you're the, okay. Mm. Anything else on that page 5?
I don't believe so.
Page 6?
Um,
So I agreed with that statement of, unless you guys have something before that. So 6.2.3 landscaping A. So I was saying, yes, they should be added since they're within the State Route 9 overlay district. So basically, we're going to add Windward Parkway, Deerfield Parkway, Ogburn Road, and Webb Road.
okay.
Else on that page 6? Oh, I do, there's more, I'm sorry. Anything from the commission?
I think are we good with 6? I mean, including the changes on the comment sheet?
So the next one is section 64-10, oh, no, I'm sorry, no. It's a 6.2.4.c.
Point what?
6.2.4.
4, okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
it's like on the left column.
Do we need to check with the arborist? Because in the other sections that I read, it was always referencing 4 species, not
It was referencing what?
4 species, not 3. Like in all the stuff about, and I think even Trey
So I
read
did
tree
speak
cover.
to her about it. We did talk about it. And proposed verbiage here is the updated terminology to be used when describing item C. Work, okay, so.
Is this, because every place else I saw was a mixture of 4 species in all the documents I read. Because, and I remember it because it would say of 4 species of 4 species, and it was like, it would say it twice.
No, so this is right, what it's here, is
The
4
4
species,
species.
yes.
Yeah,
It's just
so-
describing it more,
So we're
so
rejecting,
her suggestion,
Okay.
yes. So that just stays the way it is.
So C, no change on C.
Yeah, and then in the numbering nomenclature, I guess, the ask. Also, should 4 be 4, the number 4, to be consistent?
in the rest of the UDC, it's spelled out when it's talking about the 4 species.
Yeah, that's fine. And I think usually, aren't you supposed to spell it out if you're under 10 or whatever? So, okay, so that's fine.
We need to make a change to B then also. Well, A and B, if we're changing numbers to numbers under 10 to spell them out, like for sites on 4 acres or less.
I think it's below 10 that you spell it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So spell it out in A and B because it has the number 4 acres. What Trey's saying.
Well, if we're going to be consistent, yeah,
That's going to be throughout this whole page and everywhere else.
everywhere.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah.
If you want to make that
Right.
change.
Just make that as a blanket comment?
Yeah, I don't, so, I mean, I think that's a question that's why I made that note, that we'll just ask
Whatever's
Caleb how
consistent.
he
Okay.
wants, because that's a lot
Yeah.
of changes to do.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Stay consistent, yeah.
So we'll check on that.
Okay.
So check on.
In the buffer shall consist of 3 species.
Well, that's incorrect, yeah, that,
Okay.
what's in there, it should be, it's correct, if 4 species must be used.
Okay.
Then the next one,
Refuse collection
it
areas.
should refer to 2.3.4 for the refuse.
Okay.
So, let me,
I want to back up, but on, what are we on now?
I didn't put, where did I?
They're still on page 6.6, I think.
Yeah.
I had down, and I don't know that we could do anything about it, on that landscaping strips and that. I made a note, is that we don't have any idea what 9's gonna look like as far as landscape.
Well, this isn't down the middle, it's to the sides. And do we have any say on 9 or is that GDOT?
Yeah, I mean, we worked with them on trying to get
So
a
we
certain
wouldn't
type
have-
of wall and all that, but, no, they pretty much do what they're gonna
Such a-
do,
yeah,
so,
it's
other
the
than
whole
the,
thing, yeah. Even the landscape side is a disaster. I mean, with those walls and that. I mean, anyhow,
Yeah.
well, if we get into retaining them.
the reference where it is.
Okay. Should we move on to 7? Page 7.
Yes.
Comments includes Winwood Parkway, Delafield Parkway, Clyburn. Should these be added here?
Okay, what I had here under G, again, I'm trying to be ahead of her, but it says flat roof must be screened from the view of public and private streets by a purpose. Okay, what are we doing about someone comes in and wants solar in?
So we do allow that. So actually, the Verizon building is full of solar panels at the top of it.
Okay, so
But you really can't see it
You
from,
can't see it.
that's the whole idea. You can't see what's on the roof.
that was.
Yeah.
well,
So if they
but-
wanted to put solar panels and they put a parapet high enough, then go for it.
Well, my point being that it covers flat roofs. Must be screened from the view of public.
So this only applies to non-single family. This doesn't apply to single family,
You're
so.
right. Okay. Sorry.
I'm sorry, so it's page 7. Should these be added? And yes, under 6.2.5. 7.
J, right?
Fencing. I must have been going crazy. Oh, that's 6. It's still page 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I must have been really tired or something.
6.2.
But 6.2.5, the reference to the list of streets is under J, not I.
Oh, yeah. I had it under I, so I just was it's J, so.
Back again, any chain link fence that's already up and been up on 9?
It's grandfather, I mean.
Grandfather,
Yeah,
right.
we haven't allowed anything
Right, okay.
new, should these be added
Right,
here.
okay.
Includes.
Okay. We're on page 7 now. Anything on page 7? Okay. 8. They point out the development director versus public works director.
I think that's D.
So both should be used there.
Yeah, yes, we want both of them. That's what it read, so.
Okay. Anything else on 8? Page 8? All right, page 9, got the all clear from the web. Do we have anything for page 9? All right, page 10, comments were, summaries of 2 is you, okay, it's the same spelling out the number under 10. You're checking with Caleb on that. Number 11. Page 11 looks like they've got a few here. The comments online. Do we have any comments before we dive into those? All right, 6.2.8. A, building materials. Yes, they should be added. Looks like on 11, we've kind of agreed with everything that was suggested online.
I'll just give you this stuff. This is
All good?
capture whatever. Well,
Okay. So we on under 12? 12's got quite a few also. It looks like we should add Deerfield. Yes, I mean,
so it says, which may be different than what was, should there be commas between these instead of semicolons, or would it be easy to read if they're listed? Yeah, that's fine. We can list them in alphabetical order. That's fine on 12.
okay. What about the statement in T? Anything we need to do there? Or are we good?
Okay.
Going once? That's the last one for 12. Let's see. Oh, no, 12 goes. Are we good with the comments? We're looking at page 12. You've got a number of the ones in U and V. Statement of Muni Code. And you put in there, this requirement is in Deerfield form-based code. This is trying to be consistent with other non-residential buildings in the area. We're good with that? Okay. So I think we're done with page 12. 13. Okay, with the 6.3.1.a. Oh, 13, I'm sorry. 629 parking, and I'm assuming they've captured all these. Do we have any problem with that? Anybody else have anything on page 13? Good?
Yeah.
Okay, 13 is good. Well, whoever went through this, looks like they did a pretty good job. Page 14, nothing online. Do we have anything on page 14? Nope. Okay, now we're getting to the rural Milton overlay. Page 15. Are we good with the suggestion on the comment list? Suggest rewording the sentence to encourage and ensure that development is contemporary in design and complementary.
Was it under?
I, the very
631A.
bottom right.
Bottom right, okay.
Anybody have any problems with that? We're good on 15?
Yep.
16. Question online is, are racetracks allowed by right in rural Milton overlay?
So this is, so what did I say? Need to correct the chart to reflect the following. So it's need to add the following chart identifies uses in their assigned categories. So there were some things that were missing from the original text as far as what it was trying to say. So we need to add the following chart identifies uses in their assigned categories. These uses are allowed by right with asterisk or required by use permit. It is the intent that some types of uses must comply with allowed. And then, so basically it was when Caleb did this, the key is not correct. It's,
Okay.
and we'll correct it. It's not what was the
Okay,
original.
okay.
So that was a good catch.
Can we just go back to 13 for a second? There's just a couple of words that are missing in a couple of,
13.
yeah. So 13, Z. The end of Z is just say, unless described in the table contained in paragraph X above.
Roofs, Miss Bubba, reflective and metallic colors are prohibited unless described in the table contained in paragraph X.
And then 6.2.9A should say, the second sentence should say, no more than 30% of the overall parking may be.
Yeah,
in
we
front
got
of
that
it.
one. Yeah,
Got that one.
that was one of them. Yeah.
Go back to 16.
In the paragraph,
My one question on
in the
16.
table contained in paragraph.
My one question on 16, should we have a link to section 8 that talks about what requires, the use permit table? Or from a convention standpoint, because it's kind of and to make, we're going to have to keep this consistent with section 8 as well. Because section 8 would have all of the asterisked items. Not section 8, but yeah, chapter 8 or whatever, which is use permits. So I don't know if it makes sense to put a link to 8 or not.
Oh, would it clear things up or confuse things more?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd rather just keep it this way, at
Okay.
least for now. Maybe when we get to 8 and I look at it, we can think,
Okay.
but we just need to make the change to be the correct one, so.
Okay. Page 17. Yeah, it goes back to the formatting of the single asterisk and double asterisk. Anything else on 17?
Yeah, so this is, it didn't, right, so, yeah. Need to remove all double asterisks as it represent the allowance of alcohol by, right, and that we changed it in October, so.
So do you remove
Yeah, so
the-
retreat campground was a leftover. I think he just forgot to take it off. He has the codified thing. It was just,
So does the double asterisk come off or does it become a single asterisk?
oh, that's a good point. It would be a single, because that's a use
It's still a
permit.
use, use permit, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. so allowed, so you can't look at that where, I'm sorry. So it should read, one asterisk means allowed by right within the zoning district. So that's not true.
Yeah, the key says the single asterisk requires a use permit, which is what is the correct,
Yeah.
which is correct.
But that's incorrect what he has there. That's what I said in the, so if we look at the original, if we go to the Muni code, how it reads is what I have in the right column. Need to correct the chart to reflect. The following chart identifies uses and their assigned categories. These uses are allowed by right with asterisks or required by use permit. It is an intent that's, so basically, if it's by right, it has an asterisk, not
Oh,
what
he
it
flipped-
says.
We gotta
Well,
change
he
the-
flipped it though, because like a
Yeah.
farm winery requires a use permit and he has that asterisk.
Right, okay.
So he flipped it, so the asterisk.
Yeah, so we
are
would
the
take
use
that off.
permits.
So there, right, that's what I said on the right, yeah,
We
so,
gotta change the key.
right, to this, that's I wrote. And then, these uses are allowed by right with asterisks, so we have to make sure, yes, it's all wrong.
I think what it says that, so the way the chart is set up now is if it has an asterisk, it needs a use permit.
No.
Yeah, that's how
If
it's
it
set
has,
up now.
that's how it is right here, but that's not correct. I went back.
Oh, it should be,
It's the
Everything should
opposite. So
flip.
that's what why I wrote that on the right column in the
flip
comment
everything.
sheet. So we'll just fix it all. So.
Yeah.
So like, let's see something that might be by right.
a private.
Greenhouses are by right.
Yeah.
So greenhouses by right, and that should have an asterisk. So we just need to go back to what, the whole chart is just
Just
totally.
cleaning it up.
Yeah, so on page 6.16, under institutional type uses, the third row, what's a private?
Oh, that's a good, we'll see what that is.
Super private.
Private.
Private squared.
We can't tell you it's private.
What would you like for that to be?
It doesn't talk much.
It might be a private school. No, schools is down there. I don't know. We'll check what they thought it
That's a
was.
good one. Good catch.
It's private.
Yeah, we just need to, I
Just
need
that
to
one.
direct them to redo the whole table, so,
Okay.
okay?
So at the bottom, of page 17, under A, landscaping, A1,
Yep.
clear cutting, it needs a hyphen.
Not desirable.
A hyphen.
According to Merriam-Webster's
Okay.
dictionary, it's clear hyphen cutting. Yep.
Yeah, you get a point for tonight.
I get 1 point in the whole UDC.
Where are you?
Page
A.
617 under
617.
landscaping,
Ah,
one, clear cutting. Should be hyphenated.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else on
We should
17?
have a tally.
Well, I think if we went out into the city of Milton, tried to define between clear cutting and what's right and wrong, I don't think there's anybody that's going to be interpret. All right.
So I'm sorry, I'm going to back up again to 616 on the second column, agricultural type uses, row 2 and 3. One says barns or riding areas, the other says barns or riding areas that require a use permit. One of those needs to be asterisked.
Right. Well, right, it would be the one, the asterisk is by right, so it'd be the
You're gonna-
first one. So you're gonna, just like the one we just did, that was a use permit that required it. Yep.
And double check if a private needs a use
Okay.
permit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so 17. Yeah, we just need to remove it because the double asterisk where, yeah, we already took care of that. Yeah. Okay. 18, B, height 1. B2, yeah. 2 instead of 2.
No.
Was this?
It's, should this be a number 2 or the written 2?
Yep, I'm still on 617. Sorry, I know you're jumping ahead.
Okay.
Under commercial type uses, uses in C1 or OI zoning districts, some of them need permits and some of them don't.
Uses in C1 or, yeah, I see that, yeah.
Adult entertainment needs a permit. Other
I mean, there
restaurants
could
do
be
not.
use permits in those categories. Uses, so,
So there are some C1, in the rural Milton overlay,
right,
there are some uses that require permits and some that don't. So you can't lump them into uses in C1 or OI.
I'm sorry, it's hard for me to hear. What-
Okay, so uses in C1 or OI, some of those uses require permits and some do not, so you
Correct.
can't really just lump them.
Right, kind of like we did with the barns and riding areas.
Yeah. That's why it's kind of like, the detail of what uses need a use permit, what uses are permitted and need a permit are pretty clear in 8
The table,
in the table,
right.
and goes into a lot more detail because they go on for pages, painfully. So take a look to say, are we better to link to the tables in 8
Okay,
or to try to reformat 8 here?
okay. Okay,
All right, anything else on 17? All right, 18,
yeah, I think we'll just go back to whatever Caleb wants to be consistent with his numbering system.
and swapping out the verbiage in 64-1141B.
Right before B height. So basically, there's sections that talk about stormwater management, and we have to take the section from 64. I am agreeing with that.
Okay.
So basically, we have to add a stormwater section to after, right before height, so.
So we're good with that?
Add stormwater, okay. There's going to be multiple ones of that as we go. Anything else on 18, I guess?
I don't have anything. Anybody else? No, I think we're good. 19, looks like there's a few online. Is it safe to assume that all the online comments are probably from 1 or 2 people?
I'm sorry,
Is
what?
it safe to assume that most of the online comments are from 1 or 2 people?
We'll say 1.
Okay. Anyway, we can,
And that one person's away for 2 weeks in
Okay.
Europe, so.
they did a very nice job. Should give me a gift certificate or something. Okay,
So this is the same issue. So the proposed, yeah, so it's fine to be 4. Okay. Created D to better describe what an alternative screening buffer, 2 landscape buffers, D. But I think we added it, Caleb added it to be able to describe it better. So, or to be consistent. Yep. Well, that's numbering, but yes, so this is,
Okay.
so what happens in the form-based, so this D is included in the form-based code when it talks about alternatives. So we're just trying to make it consistent. So that's why we added it into D. Does that make sense?
Yep. Okay, so are we done with 19?
Number 4 at the very bottom, clear cutting.
They're cutting again. Thank you, Mr. Webster.
2 points for Trey.
Thank you, Mr. Webster.
You're winning.
Replace.
Sumit, I know
all.
you're getting replaced, Sumit.
No, I'm saying it'll be Caleb will just do a replace all.
Yeah,
clear-cutting.
that would
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, on to page 20. Almost halfway done.
Parking lot island located right before 2 landscape buffers.
What's your definition of almost halfway?
That in the glossary.
So yes, in the rural Milton overlay, we have a little bit different requirements for parking lot landscape islands. So I'm saying that we need to use this verbiage. We have to add this verbiage. Use section 641142H. I'm agreeing, different from normal. So that has to be added as an E, I guess, so.
Where's everything for 20?
In the other sections, equestrian fence was a defined term, but then put the specifications of equestrian fence in the definitions, and we felt it should not be in the definitions. So I'm wondering, because you shouldn't put requirements in the definitions, had like what color it could be and how it needed to be painted. So C1 talks about a equestrian fence, which is a defined term. But in the other sections where we reviewed that, we said we should move those requirements that are in the definition into the code itself. So we should probably do it here as well.
Okay.
Because we did that in other sections previously.
Okay. I just have to look at the other sections, right?
And it was basically to take the list of requirements of an equestrian fence and put it in the code itself, not in the definition.
Put it in the code.
Okay, got that? Anything else on 20?
Yeah, I have two. C1, I think there should be a comma after street in yards adjacent to an exterior street, comma, and equestrian fence is required.
It's adjacent to. So after exterior street, a comma?
After street, comma, yeah. And then in 4B, that first line, I think you delete that comma.
4C, you said?
4B.
B, okay.
4B.
Around the entire accessory structure, comma?
No, I don't think there should be a
After
comma.
fencing.
Erection of 100% OPEC fencing around the entire accessory structure.
Delete.
Delete that comma.
Oh, okay. I just can't. Okay.
Anything else? All right. Under 21,
In D1J, pedestrian paths must be colored. Does that mean like yellow and purple and blue? Or was that supposed to be collared?
You're trying to get rid of the yellow brick road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
What's the difference between J and D?
J and what?
D.
Well,
Well, I think that's signage and, oh, well, that's true.
And when I see colored, maybe that should be like striped or.
well, because it says it should be colored and or textures, walkways or
So what time,
sidewalks.
so
Sometimes you
we've
need-
done it, you can have stamped concrete and then you color it. So it's texture, it's basically a textured walkway and then they color it. So you see it. They did that over by the Target Shopping Center a lot.
Brick instead of.
Yeah, fake brick.
Do we want to say naturally colored? Because we don't want red and yellow and green and blue.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. We can do that.
I guess we're assuming that all paths paintable.
Yeah, because some of them are gravel.
Grass and gravel.
dirt.
So
Well, this is commercial or non-single family, so we
Right,
probably
yeah.
are not talking
okay,
about
Yeah.
yeah, I guess you wouldn't make.
gravel.
And we don't have that many situations like that, so. Okay.
And then D1 and D2. So is this saying, are these all requirements? Like, is there a need for some sort of colon or?
At the end of those,
I don't know. I mean, it says mandatory requirements, pedestrian path design standards. I don't know. What was the intention there?
So it should, say one should end in a colon,
I don't know,
because it's a list.
potentially.
what do you think, Paul?
Which one?
Under-
D1
on
and
page
D2.
21, D1 and D2, should it be a colon instead of a period since the list?
That to me looked more like a title.
Oh, you're on B, right? Paths, starting out, paths are encouraged to be built. Is that the one
You
we're
said
on?
D, like
Oh,
after
we're talking
D1?
about-
D1, yeah, D1.
Oh,
Yeah, so
D.
D1, I don't know, yeah, is that, if it's a title, it's one thing, but then still, what does that mean? Does that mean that all of these are,
Proposed developments must have a pedestrian network. That's a valid restriction.
so these are just basically saying that these are all requirements? All of those have to be met?
They read as if they are absolutes.
So anyway, I don't know if that, I mean, then, I don't know if you have to change that a little bit just to make it clear, like the following are mandatory requirements or something like that. So, A
It's
through
kinda
J.
like- It's kind of like D. It says pedestrian safety. This says mandatory requirements, pedestrian path design standards. It's just
Okay.
like a title. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but I don't have a problem with it like this.
Okay,
So
okay.
One I had on B was okay. Pedestrian scale lighting.
Pedestrian path designs.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
On B, it says limited to benches, pedestrian. I was seeing pedestrian and then scale lighting. What they're saying is, I understand low lighting. Okay. What the point? Wow.
Okay, so anything else on 21?
On 22 then?
So 22, I'm just clarifying that it's in the tree canopy plan about not allowing streetlights in the tree islands and the parking islands, so
Or should we have a link there?
we could have a, well, yeah, we could have a link. Well, it's not there listed on a. Well, I don't know. I don't think so. He took it out. So it's in the other section in the canopy. And we know, I mean, so
Right.
I'm good with this. I don't want to link it.
Okay, anything else on 22? All right. 23. Anybody have anything on 23? Nope. Okay.
So 24, 20, at least what's
Yeah,
listed.
yeah,
We'll check about,
check to determine consistency.
right. So it's again, that question, do you use TWO or do you use number 2?
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
What does that mean on page 24? Anybody have anything on 24? Okay.
5.
25.
I have no idea where it is, and the thing is about having a comma. I forgot to put where it was. The big page. I don't know. I have to go back to the software and see where it was.
Y'all can make a call on that one.
Yeah. Page, if there's nothing else on 25, anybody?
Nope, I think we're all good there.
26, same thing.
Okay. 27. Anybody have anything on 27?
I got it. So 25, one sec. 25, the third paragraph on the left. It says listed in paragraph F above. I don't know what that reference is.
F would be all the way back to building size orientation, accessory structures such as out parcel to meet the requirements. So it's F, building size orientation setback on 22.
Did we link to that?
Yes, it's fine. Yeah, it's just, you have to match accessory structures.
Okay.
Oh, are not required to meet the requirements listed in paragraph F.
Okay. On page 22, okay.
Accessory structures such as out parcel buildings, fences and walls must have architectural exterior materials consistent with the principal buildings, with the principal building, and are not required to meet the requirements
in
listed
paragraph F.
in paragraph F above. So all it's saying is, I don't know why you even have to say that, but I was just saying that accessory structure and all those accoutrements have to be consistent with the principal building.
I just think, and if we just link to it, I think it's just, there was no paragraph up above, right? That's
Yeah,
what- that's what the
exactly.
It's
question-
way, it's like 3
Way
pages
above,
more,
yeah.
yeah.
Maybe we just link to it, that would
Yeah, I
solve
think
that.
that'll make, yeah.
Okay. And back on 26, were we all good there? Okay. 27. Anybody got anything on 27?
Trey? Next page, be ready.
I've already circled it.
All right. 28, I think we need to do something about the clear cutting.
Yep.
Maybe we should prohibit it.
All right, anybody on 20, on 28? We're good? All right. Going once, going twice. All right, 29. Big silence for a no additional.
And, no. Right.
Okay. Up to 30, page 6-30. Anybody have anything on that we need to address? Okay, I'll take that for a no. 31. Any comments on 31 outside of the public comment? We'll go to 31. Okay. Put 31 to rest. Thirty-two. Nobody have any on 32? Okay. 33.
Had something there that I wrote consistent.
Maybe the numbering?
It's the issue about semicolons or commas.
Oh, okay.
So 33 we're all good with? 34.
Let's see, 34C.
Okay. 34 is good. 35. Architectural use standards.
What's that?
I just said architectural use standards.
Okay.
Trying to hide my excitement. So 35, anybody have anything on 35? All right. Moving right along. 36.
Something about tables.
Yeah, we'll need to recreate the tables.
Right, so basically this is like a PDF of the previous one and it's hard to read. So I'm just saying, we need to recreate the table so it's easier to read. That's,
Well, easier to read and also call it like table 6. Table 12H, which is some old numbering.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, plus it's a reference to the old Fulton County.
Oh.
All that. 38.
It's the old how they, whatever you want to say.
36, 37 is the same.
Yeah, it's all tables. So,
See, I was wrong. I'm not up on this. See, that's number 38 on facade. I'm wrong. But I said double check it, so I wasn't confident. Yes. To get rid of the Cedilla.
okay, so we're closing out 37, is that correct?
Yeah, 37 was the same as 36, same
Yeah, it's all tables,
Okay.
yeah.
table.
38.
Kind of agree with her. Do you need us to suggest where you break it?
Ever read a 1910 court case?
Oh,
Paragraph, it's not gonna be that long, no breaks.
Oh,
Like
gosh.
the whole opinion is one paragraph,
wow.
virtually impossible to read.
So do you guys agree with that, just to have Caleb break it up?
Yep.
Yep. I agree.
Maybe it's something like generally the commercial buildings. That's kind of a whole new concept. And then many of the commercial buildings is kind of the history and how they were grouped. So if you want to break it at generally, about halfway through the first one, and at the top, many. Make those new paragraphs. That helps.
Make it a little more readable.
And if you even wanted to, you could say the principal building materials is kind of a new concept. And you've got another one of those weird Cs, because my French is horrible. So that's probably a universal facade.
Are you suggesting the break before the principal building materials?
Yeah, because that whole next section talks about windows and entryways. Doors and stuff, so it's kind of
Okay.
a concept.
All right.
So 4 paragraphs.
Anything else? 38?
Where was the, so we got the paragraph right in front of generally?
Generally, in front of many on the top of second, in front of the principal
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, so this one. Okay.
I was so ahead as I went through it,
I'm with you.
right at the, where it stops about windows and doors, then it, that, the word "this" is achieved by entrance. About the entrance. I don't know.
All right. 39 as we plug our way through.
In C, should there be a comma after 3/1?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on 39? Okay.
Oh, finally, a picture.
Yes, a nice big full-page map. Okay, any questions on that? Keys okay?
Yeah, it's
Well,
okay.
I guess technically, this says the yellows are form-based code areas. In reality, the Birmingham Crossroads is
Yeah,
another
we'll fix that,
overlay.
yeah.
Cool.
Different color, yeah.
You're just checking if we're paying attention.
Well, we did
I
this,
wasn't.
so I asked our GIS person, yeah. so-
Yeah.
Wasn't.
All right, 41. Birmingham Crossroads overlay. Saying no, plan does not have to be capitalized in comprehensive plan. Anybody have anything else?
Not on this page.
Okay. 42.
Just a suggestion, since you colored it peach on this page, on
And
that,
to do it, yeah, I was just
I'd
thinking
do
that on
peach
the
on
other
the
one.
other
Good
one.
idea, makes sense.
for those that aren't colorblind.
Okay, 42, anything else? All right. Now we're on to 43. You said here we need new diagrams created for
There
these.
again, yeah,
Graphic.
same as what it was back there on the table. Can't read any of it.
Oh, the teeny tiny little street pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which are interesting because there's no trees along the roads in Birmingham Crossroads.
Not yet.
Okay.
Robin? Picture on the top of 643 that depicts all the trees along the road.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what
Not
we're
a
gonna
one.
do about this because to recreate these tables or these
Diagrams.
diagrams, cross sections, so guess we just have to redo them. You can't read them.
Are they,
They're old from Fulton County. We
yeah, I
don't
was
have the
gonna say, are they
original.
necessary? I mean, for describing all that, I don't know that.
And I think part of the challenge there at the crossroads is it's full of overhead power lines, so you don't have trees along the roadside as depicted in the little schematic. You'd have to bury the cable to put trees in there.
And to be honest, well, that's existing roads and then there's,
But even the existing
Streets.
road cross-section, not a tree.
right.
More trees on the internal roads, but not really. Few. But the
I wouldn't have any trouble with dropping the picture, period, but
What do y'all think? Get rid of the diagrams?
Get rid of them. They're confusing.
Yeah. I think they do more harm than good. I think they do more confusing than.
And to be honest, there's not many roads left to be, I mean, there's not a lot of undeveloped areas to create roads anyway, so.
Okay, so on 43 then?
Bulb out. Bulb.
Okay. 44.
Hyphen or not.
Do you have anything additional in page 44? No? Okay, 45. Couple of them. Do you have any questions, comments? 45? Nope.
Robin, glad to see S4.
F4, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can I just go back to
Please enforce it.
41 for a second? Can I just go back to 41 for a second? I just wanted to clarify 6.4.1A, the title. So is it known as Birmingham Crossroads Overlay or Birmingham Crossroads of the Rural Milton Overlay?
So it's, this section it is shortened, is Birmingham Crossroads Overlay, but it's a child of the rural Milton Overlay. So, I mean,
So should 6.4 be Birmingham Crossroads of the Rural Milton Overlay? But it's just in short always called the Birmingham Crossroads Overlay.
But yeah, I mean, or do you kind of elaborate a little bit more in A, that, Birmingham Crossroads Overlay in bold or whatever is a, whatever, section of the rural Milton Overlay?
Overlay.
So that way it is, it's clearer. For me, it's kind of confusing. Is it the Birmingham Crossroads of the rural Milton Overlay, or is it the Birmingham Crossroads Overlay?
it's kind of, I mean, it's like the Birmingham Crossroads Overlay is within the rural Milton.
But like, what are we're calling it the Birmingham Crossroads overlay.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
just, yeah.
because the way that this is written in A, it's like the Birmingham Crossroads of the rural Milton overlay. You know, so I would just say the Birmingham Crossroads overlay, which is, you know, whatever, like you said,
But
section of the rural Milton overlay or something like that.
Yeah,
But
so-
again, it's still bolded Birmingham Crossroads overlay, you know.
So you're saying this section shall be known as the Birmingham Crossroads overlay, and then clarify the Birmingham Crossroads overlay is a portion of the
Of the rural Milton
overlay.
overlay, yeah.
I could say the Birmingham Crossroads overlay is contained within the Milton, the rural Milton.
Yeah, that's fine.
Distinguishment I didn't know. Thank you for calling that to mind.
Got that? Okay.
Okay. Where are we, 44?
48.
48? Wait, just jumping back to 44. In E2, it just says the director. Do we need to specify what director, who that is, or not? Are we good? On page 44, E2.
It would be the community development director. So anytime it's just director, it's community development director.
We're good with that? Okay. You're good, I'm good.
The director is defined in 13 as the community.
Okay,
development
great.
director.
All right.
So just jump back to 42.
You're not allowed to do that.
Sorry, I'm just trying to
Once
read
the
all
gavel
these
falls on
as
42.
quick
we're
as I
done.
can. 6.4.2A2. So should that say instead of the Birmingham plan, should it be the Birmingham Crossroads plan? Or?
I've got I found a copy of it the other day. I was looking for it and it's.
No, I disagree. So there's a plan.
That's just called Birmingham plan?
Yeah, well, I have it in the office. I pulled it for last night, but let me check this.
What the
Let me
title
check
is.
the title of it, because
I have, the copy I have is like somebody took a
Birmingham-
photo, a scan of it and then pasted it into Word. It's kind of funky.
I mean, it's not it's the plan, but
Yeah, it's the original Fulton County. It was the plan developed under Fulton County.
that kind of was
Yeah.
the backbone to the. So, but we can check the title just to make sure. Yeah.
I want to say it is called the
Could be
Birmingham
It could be
Crossroads
confusing. Is
Plan.
it two? Yeah, there are two plans. Yeah, there are two plans, right? Or the former plan, you know, formerly known as Birmingham plan or whatever,
It's- yeah.
something to that effect.
Well, they reference
Clarify.
that it's the 2004 plan.
Yeah,
And
well,
I
we'll get
think
the
it is
title. I
called
have it,
the
I have it
Birmingham
in the office, so I'll look at it.
Birmingham Crossroads. And what page are we on? 42.
A lot of us are on 47.
I know.
Some of us are still on 42.
48.
No, go ahead.
Anything else, Matt?
I think we should subtract points if you go
I'll jump in.
backwards.
I'll jump in when I
Okay,
can.
okay.
Go ahead.
You're not allowed to go backwards. You can jump in on the page.
Yeah, so I think, just inspired by Mr. James, I believe under fencing on G on 46, off the shelf is hyphenated.
Okay.
Display off the shelf is with hyphens. Off-the-shelf variety. Kind of a weird thing to say, but.
Yeah, it is.
So are we on 48 now?
No, well, I just want to make the same comment as we've made in those diagrams. When you try to read what kind of fencing that is, I don't know about anybody else. And
Yeah,
I'm a
47.
pharmacist and can read about
Yeah.
anything, but
Yeah.
we need to either type that or do something with it.
Draw that up, Missy? I can draw that up. Okay. So we'll draw it up and figure it, so we'll redo it and
Okay.
then,
We'll redo it and then we'll type the
Yeah.
Yeah.
descriptions.
okay.
Okay,
Good idea.
thank you.
All right. Now we're on 48.
48.
I want 56.
So on 48 under I2, and I don't think it really changed, but should we not reference the 2020 land use map, the more current one?
So I think that if anything, I was just looking at within land design as retail services.
Which is because the land use map has,
Should we
in
say something like the most
designated
current
retail
land use map?
services.
because the most current land use map hasn't changed from 2015, but I would think we'd reference the most recent, which is the 2020.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wasn't 2021, was it? It was
Yeah, I guess that's
2020.
okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
And is Village
Or wouldn't
Green,
we just say whatever the latest? What if we have it changed again?
I would say the
Like
current.
2040 up to the next, to the latest. See where
I think, yeah, to the latest land use map,
To the current.
current.
Yeah, current.
And then could you use a hyperlink from there to wherever the current one is?
I think that's a good idea.
Yep.
Okay.
48H1, just a question. So is that right, the way it's written? Parking lots must be behind and to the side, or is it or?
And/or, actually.
And
Yeah,
or.
and or.
Good catch.
Well,
H1.
So I've, Judy, when you look at that I2,
Uh-huh.
the size of the village green in each quadrant must be as set forth in the following. So the other quadrants don't have a minimum size, just the northeast and southeast.
Right, because only the northeast and southeast are required to have village greens.
Is Village Green a defined term or is that a generic?
That's from last night. So
It's in number
it's all
3.
in there, so number 3 kind of defines.
Should it
what
be
is.
capitalized or no?
I'm sorry, what?
Should it be capitalized or no? If it's a defined term?
Well, it's kind of defined within the code right
They're
there.
going to change it anyhow.
Yeah,
If we-
there's no
if
more
they
village
capitalize
greens to
it, they're
have.
gonna make it small. I say they,
They're,
whatever. that-
they're already developed.
It's already built.
Okay.
They're there, so.
Well, I guess the only thing is it would say, no, you can't take it out.
Well, it's already in a conditions,
Okay.
I mean, they have to keep it there, even when we did the modification on the southeast.
Yeah, I have to say the village green on the northeast ain't so green. It's not lawn, it's pine straw. Because it's underneath pine trees, so over time it is just.
Well, I mean, I
become-
guess an open space.
But I mean, it does say a simple lawn area.
Yeah.
And it's,
So page 48J,
I'd rather have a
J2, page 48J2 just had a question. So is LP tanks somewhere defined? LP, whatever that might mean?
That's, you know, the
We could
tanks you
say-
get to put in your barbecue grill.
Liquid
It's
propane.
called,
With propane.
okay, so it doesn't need to spell out liquid propane.
I think
Most people know.
I actually had the same thought. To be
it-
honest.
Yeah, I don't,
to say liquid, we can say liquid propane.
yeah, I
think.
would suggest that.
I thought it was long playing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly.
And I would actually, well, I would love to say, well, or other similar,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, that's just, oh, what if there's something else, like
Yeah,
a
exactly.
Netflix thing, or I don't know, what else could be out there, like,
Trying to think. The other thing too, they're starting to do is like, you know,
Lock-
little storage garage, storage things where you can go and pick up your Amazon
Just your
delivery. They
lockers.
Generally don't, lockers in
Yeah.
general.
I don't know, we can leave it alone, but
Yeah. They, they do have the LP tanks behind a wall at Publix. They aren't totally screened though. But I'd leave it alone.
yeah. To reinvent the wheel.
Shopping carts.
49.
Change the color.
Well, no, the color's the same, that's fine.
So on 649, we refer to it in 6.4.3A3 as the village center, but the title below is the village core. I think it really is, should be titled village center. Because the definition and description of what it is center, not core. The title down here should be
Don't blow them
I
out.
center.
do, I'm just thinking,
Because I don't think we ever use the term core. We always call it village center.
I just want to double check on the plan, though.
Oh, it might be in the 2004 plan as core.
Yeah, we'll check on that.
Okay.
I think I
But
had
then
that.
it-
But
But then if we're,
defining.
going to call it core, then 3 should say, building designs are categorized as village center / core, so we know, people know we're using that term interchangeably.
I mean, I would be fine with that right now, I guess, but
But it's just not consistent.
So I just had a question on J6. So freestanding fast food restaurants are prohibited. The intention is what? Like just one building only?
right, so you can't have like a McDonald's or a Wendy's, a freestanding.
So the subway is just in a line with, next to the dry cleaners and the Chinese.
So as long as it's attached to like a shopping center, kind of a strip mall type of a thing. But if it's freestanding,
You can't do it.
detached by itself, okay.
So that would mean like the old Wells Fargo could not become a fast food restaurant because it's freestanding.
The which building,
The
the
old Wells Fargo.
On Main.
old, right,
But if there's a freestanding building and you
cut it in half.
exactly cut it in half and make it 2 suites, then that's okay? It's still a
Yeah.
freestanding building, or it was, but now you've cut it in half and made it 2 businesses, and now it's no longer freestanding. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's how it sounds, yes.
Welcome to the world of some of the interesting restrictions that were put on the Birmingham.
Yeah, and I think that's true, so, so that's in here, but you're right that in the exclusions of some of the zoning conditions, it says no fast food restaurants. Doesn't say whether it's freestanding or not. But I think with the subway, because, I mean, there's seating and you have to go up to the counter. It's a pseudo fast, I mean, it's not
Or fast
true. Yeah.
casual.
And there's,
Yeah, it's.
but you don't really have to worry about fast foods because those, except for the northwest corner. And then the very, very corner of where all the utility items are on the southeast is unconditional C1. So all the rest has exclusions to fast food restaurants.
Remember that when you get to Arnold Mill.
Okay.
Fred, we're trying to get out of here this evening.
Okay.
All right, 49, we're good? All right, 50, I think we'll have the same comment about the diagrams.
So I don't, you know, so I don't know what to do with these because these are more.
Well, I've got something. Look at B. What, building setbacks, B.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 is center and 3 is core, and they're really the same thing.
Oh, yeah, so there's core. I think I need to go back to the plan to see what it says.
Yeah, make it consistent. Chances are the original 2004 plan is equally as inconsistent.
Yeah, we'll look.
Yeah. But let's clean it up with center/core, just so people know we mean the same thing, because it's whatever's within 400 feet of the middle of the intersection versus anything outside that.
I don't necessarily like the wording on B, 1 or 2. Must be set back 10 feet maximum from existing roads. Would it be better to say must be set back no more than 10 feet from,
I think it's maybe set back no more than 10 feet.
in the same structure on number 2?
Yeah.
The village centers, buildings, say that again?
Maybe
Buil-
set back no more than 10 feet.
Village center buildings must be set back no more than 10 feet from existing roads.
And likewise with the 20 feet.
Yep.
And then number 2.
Oh, careful with the rural section buildings. Some of those are on the interior core. Oh, it's from the property line. Never mind. Well, wait a second. Inside the Publix, which is all one property, there's buildings back there that are more than 20 feet from the.
Well, it's done deal.
So rural section buildings are anything that isn't in the core, which includes the Publix building, and Publix is more than 20 feet from the property line.
What's a done deal, Judy?
Pardon?
It's a done deal. It's already built.
Yeah. But if they wanted to put another building between the Publix and the Mac,
Road.
I think there's a buffer there. There's like
Well,
a
no.
75-foot buffer because of the AG1 above it.
no, I'm saying between it where there's a parking lot, if they wanted to put another building between there and the vast parking lot. So there's a parking lot between the Publix and then what fronts the road. Where
Right.
Mac and the hair salon that's not permitted to be there, that's been there forever. In there, in that parking lot, if they wanted to put another building, they couldn't because it's more than 20 feet from the property line. The whole idea is that everything was supposed to be on the,
Right.
but I mean, that's what it says. Rural section buildings have to be along the property line. Okay. That also says that's another challenge for the one that went to the CCIM last night. More than 20 feet from the property. That get a variance on that?
It's inside the 400 though. That's what they showed
Oh,
on
it
the
is,
site
it is
plan.
inside the.
And
400.
and we
Barely,
asked for a
part of it
variance
is.
for
Yeah,
it
so
too.
but so it is getting, it is asking for the variance on B1. Okay. But basically, this is saying any, basically means you can't put anything between the Publix and the Mac because it would be more than 20 feet without a variance.
Right.
Does that do it for 50?
Sorry. We're seeking to understand, and we're supposed to be seeking to correct. Sorry about that.
No, I mean, this is the time to do this. 51.
I am noticing facade is a defined term, that as well as frontage is a defined term, and they weren't capitalized here.
What? I can't understand. What?
Oh, so facade and frontage are defined terms, but they were not capitalized in a number of places.
Saying that they,
But they're saying it's going to uncapitalize anyway, but we've been capitalizing them, but,
I quit making the changes.
okay.
Okay, 51.
Actually, on 5111C, we have that same, is it village core buildings or village center buildings?
Put it on
Also
51?
B as well, 11B, village core.
All right, 52, getting down there. Anybody have anything for 52?
Village corridors on 13.
And 18?
Feel like we're playing bingo.
When I send this over, I've got a lot of them marked.
What's that?
When I send this over,
Okay.
I've got all those marked.
Okay.
That was an issue that I saw too.
Okay.
All right, 52. Good. All right. 83.
D1, all buildings must meet these color standards. What are these? Should that be the?
What number is that again?
D1.
D1, all buildings must meet these color standards.
Is that supposed to be a,
Should it be the color standards or the
What is
standards
these
as defined as?
Colors down below.
Yeah.
the permitted colors, does that need a table number and then the
Yeah.
color standards in table number XXX?
Yep, it needs a reference.
That's something you're thinking about, or? Robin?
I'm sorry.
All
I'm totally
buildings
out of
must
it.
meet
Took a
the
nap.
permitted colors listed below, or something of that nature. So this it just says these colors.
Almost done.
Generally, most tables, we have a table number.
Yeah,
on it.
that would be
Right.
helpful.
So we'll fix it, yeah.
So we'll give it a table number and then reference that here.
Yep.
And D3, is mold spelled correctly?
So
Wood-
it's B3?
D3?
Oh, the next page.
Yeah.
No,
No.
right
No,
here.
page 53,
Yeah.
D3.
Yeah, it's usually molding with, and it with a U, MOULDING, not just table wood mold, but
Check that.
Yeah, check that.
But does that sentence make sense? Brick should be wood mold in the brown to Georgia clay range?
well, the idea is
think
you
that's
have
the
your
way it's
brick and then you
formed.
put, wood mold is trim.
Right, but does that sentence actually, is it grammatically correct? Should be
Let's see if,
wood mold.
let's see if mold is a verb.
There should be, brick should be wood mold.
MOULD is a verb.
Hmm.
But an,
Wood molded?
an object out
So
of,
it's the way that you create brick. So like what Bob says is
Well, you can do like machine,
and I think this is saying this should be done by hand or wood.
tumbled or wood
Let's-
mold.
So I don't know, that could be a correct sentence. I just don't recognize it.
So I'll ask Bob what he wants to be, because
Yeah.
that's like an architectural thing,
Yeah.
just to make sure it's
Like
right.
saying, oh, should be wood moldy.
No,
you
it's
know.
not molding. It's
No, I
the
know
way
it. I
it's
know it,
molded.
but I said,
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
yeah. So there may be a better word than that.
right.
Yeah.
We can
I
use
think
this
so.
more clear, but we'll check on that.
Okay.
and please let us know, because we're all curious now.
Yeah.
I'm going to be up all night.
644A.
Hyphen in there, that might solve everything.
644A, we don't have any historic resource survey since 1996. Do we have anything else?
No, yeah, we still use that.
Is that online somewhere that can provide a link?
It could be. Actually, you know what happens is, the state of Georgia, DNR, has a master list of the whole state, and what was done in 96 is on that. So let me look into it about,
there was just an article on the Appin newspaper about identifying and all this, the historical. Milton.
but that's not what
Oh.
this is referring to. Yeah, I'm just saying the only consistent thing that we've always used is that 1996 survey. And let me look into it about seeing what,
Okay.
there's,
Okay. Anything else on 53? All right. 54?
Back to what the Milton, the Historic Preservation Commission was decommissioned by the city of Milton and spun off to be a independent location. So somehow we need to bring up our code to recognize we don't have a Historic Preservation Commission.
well, but I mean,
And I think it got removed from the code too, in the board section.
yeah, but I'm not going to get rid of the whole section.
Well, no, the reference to the Historic Preservation Commission. There is
Right.
no longer a Historic Preservation.
But it's still on the
Commission.
books. Yes, you're right. It's not manned currently.
Are you sure it's still in the Muni Code?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is. Yes, it is. I will die before anybody takes it out because it took so much work to put it in. So hopefully I'm sorry.
All right, we'll give you that one.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah, all
we'll
right,
give you
we
that
go
one.
on.
Eliminated also.
I'm sorry. Don't get me started.
Okay, so
But the thing is, if it's, well, we'll have to see what it says about it under 1227 when we get there, because this says,
Well, it still exists.
the commission, okay.
Yeah, it still exists. It's on the books. It's just not manned right now. So,
all right. So 54 we're good with?
Historical.
All
So,
right,
so can we not do it now? But if you read the first, so 651A, that first paragraph, it's missing something. It doesn't connect. In support and furtherance of its findings and determination that the historical, cultural, and aesthetic heritage of the city of Milton, Georgia is among its most valued and important assets, and that the preservation of this heritage is essential to promotion of the health. I don't know what I don't know what's trying to be said there.
A lot of words.
The missing an object or something.
Yeah.
It's missing something.
Is
So
the
I'm good with it
object
because I won't read it
the
again most likely. But it's something, there's missing something in there.
you have to decipher it if you,
Well, in support and furtherance of its findings. My
get it.
brain's too tired to tease it apart right now.
I looked at kind of reorganizing the structure a little bit to make these bullet points and say the purpose and intent of this section 6.5 is bullet point 1, to support and further.
Yeah.
Its findings and determination, but I don't know that it fixes all of them. Yeah, it doesn't read
Sorry,
right.
Kurt.
Oh, no, I'm all about that.
Mhm. This whole was supposed to be about simplifying so you could read it and understand it.
Yeah.
All right, page 55.
We'll give that a fresh look in the morning with fresh eyes.
Yeah,
Fresh brain.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
reword.
no, I understand. So 55, anything on 55?
So here's comes back to the challenge though, in 55-4. Any structure for which a non-conforming historic use is proposed must first be designated as historic. So they've done a number of them.
No, so this.
How do you get a new historic designation?
Right, you can't. So, well, so it's a little complicated. Use, within the H district, under B, right? That's
Yeah.
above it. So you can't create a new, that's like a zoning district H, and the only
Right.
one that exists is the Hardeman store or whatever that's now Bloom.
Right, and the
That's-
birdhouse, right?
But it's not designated as H, so this is very confusing.
Okay.
So you
It's
can have a
historic but not
structure.
H, okay.
That you can have a historic structure like the birdhouse. But back in the day, there was desire to preserve what is now Bloom, that was a general store, but it was zoned AG1. And so the intent was, we want to save this store and have it to be the way it always was. Wink, wink. Anyway, so what we came up with, instead of zoning it to C1, and then people would say, well, we'll start rezoning other parcels adjacent to it and create, this tumble effect. Somebody came up with this brilliant idea, and I can't remember who, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It was a brilliant idea. Let's create an H district. So the only way you can designate an H district is if you designate an historic structure on it.
Structure. Keyword there's a structure because they were trying even out on Providence Park to make the stone quarry historical. Stone quarry.
I know, but that's not the same as the eight, yeah. But I mean, yeah, it could be a structure or a thing, but in this context of an H district, it was talking about a use. So let's say over on Arnold Mill Road, I think there's another old general store, right?
Yes.
So if they wanted, and I don't know if it's what it's zoned or not, but let's say it's zoned AG1, if they want to resurrect that use, if the Historic Preservation Commission was still,
But they already designated that as historic when they were still here, so it's on. the list.
Correct.
Yeah, so you're okay
so
there.
right now, there's only one H district at the corner of Thompson and Hopewell.
Right.
So that's what that's speaking to.
But this actually could still work, because if the Historic Preservation Commission had designated the building as historic.
So
back
if
when
we
they
did-
were here, then you can't, those properties, and there's
Right,
30
and so
some of
there's
them,
only two. So if we as a city didn't own the birdhouse and they wanted it to be an inn or a hotel, whatever it was traditionally a long time ago, then we could create an H district for that use as a hotel or whatever, right?
But what about the other 30 that they designated as historic?
So that's,
But they're not.
they're
officially
not,
Designated?
no, they're not designated as a historic structure. They're just historical.
Okay.
That the Historical Society has decided to put signs up to say they're historical, but they don't have a designation to keep them in place.
So just to clarify, make sure I'm
Okay.
not confused. There are two structures that are designated as historic, the birdhouse and the old general store at Hopewell and Thompson. Only one of them has been rezoned to
Correct. Because that owner wanted to be able to use it like it used to be used, but they lost their grandfathering because it stopped being a general store for a long time. So if that general store was there in continual use, then it would have been grandfathered in, so. It's very confusing, I know.
I vote we make page 55 historical right now.
I know. You know what?
Can I claim that? Can I do that?
And so, yeah, so we're okay because, well, the only thing was if somebody else wanted something to be rezoned from AG1 to H so they could reuse it in its historical, we'd have to resurrect the Historical
Right, yeah,
Preservation Committee.
Yeah, yep, correct.
Okay.
Your
so-
lesson on Historic Preservation Commission.
So 55. So while we're here, should we just go through 7A and B too?
Yeah, sure.
Alrighty.
For writing this code, and I really wanted to pass something, I'd put it at the very end.
All right.
It's a little laxed at the end.
And I believe that's the last thing on our agenda for tonight.
So just
Next
in
month.
general, as we're reviewing forward, should we just not worry about defined terms because it's all going to lowercase anyway?
Yeah.
Sometimes I like to look up the definitions just to
No, that's
say,
fine,
okay, that
yeah.
makes sense.
So next month, we have two text amendments. One is to deal with ZPL. There was a bill passed last year that goes into effect July 1st that deals with legal notice of
Zoning procedures, just. I mean,
zoning procedures.
Among other things, it changes legal notice requirements for publication, the deadline, so we have to comply with that update. And then it changed what it characterized as legislative and judicial types of decisions. We got to do some changes with respect to that. And it created some issues with respect to the procedures for appealing that to Superior Court, where we have to designate certain individuals as part of the code. So there's various provisions to comply with the ZPL, the zoning procedures law, that changes that were adopted. So we got to get them done by July.
Okay.
And then the other one is kind of a catch up with some alcohol with the limited tap and limited restaurant that it's just the cleanup. So pretty straightforward.
As the new Mayfield quote also have new signage, green instead of yellow, identifying what that property is going to be.
What do you mean? I guess I don't understand.
You know, when we have an application, we got a yellow sign out there, the date and all this on a yellow sign, right?
District of
Oh, the
Mayfield,
big
District
yellow.
Mayfield is
Right.
green signs, but
And the Mayfield now is a green.
The little ones?
Yeah.
So that way,
Right.
we were just being nice to put them out. So we have a generic little 4x4 sign that we use for variances. Or actually, we use for multiple things when we just need to get a sign out pretty fast without ordering a big one.
So it's
So this,
green.
yes, it's green.
Okay.
It
I
doesn't
thought
really
maybe
matter. It's
because it was
just,
in the
and we weren't
Mayfield
required to even,
zone that we said, okay, if you do that, we'll put up a green sign if they're going to do remodeling or.
no, we don't have to do any of that. And in fact, Shuba put those up, but that was just being nice. We didn't have to put up any signs about the Mayfield
It's
district.
interesting where it is.
What's that?
It's interesting where it is.
I don't know where, I mean,
Right on Mayfield at this side of Milton's restaurant. that building between it and lawnmower shop.
There's actually 3 of them out there. There's one there, there's one on the Broadwell Pavilion fence, there's one laying on the ground in front of the Milton Library.
But that was just, Shuba was just trying to let people know about it.
Know about.
Our
The
meeting
district
tonight.
at Mayfield text amendment and
Okay.
everything, yeah.
All right, anything else?
I move, we adjourn.
Second?
Second. Oh, you got it, Ron.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?